Welcome back to Second and Short. It is Friday, March 13th, 2024. I'm sat beside Luke, my co-host, just like usual on a Friday. And I hope everybody enjoyed the Friday episode last week with me, Luke, and Colin, despite the fact that
Wow.
I went on vacation Friday morning. Totally forgot to promote the episode whatsoever. People still found it, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed my short vacation. I know Colin had some fun. But I missed this. It felt weird, to like go into Sunday and not be preparing for the episode and like recording and
Yeah.
everything. But I'm glad to be back. We got a lot to talk about because the NFL has been set ablaze this week. Obviously, we're not getting
Holy fuck.
we're not getting into everything for free agency. Me and Colin are going to do a week one recap on Monday's episode this week, where we literally are going down the list. That's what we're doing. We're going down the list. We're just saying things.
Damn, you
about
gave that one to Colin?
Yeah, well, I don't want to interrupt our season grades. We've got a good
That is
series
true.
going on right now. But yeah, NFL free agency hit the ground running on Monday. We've had
Damn.
groundbreaking move after groundbreaking move. We've got Kirk Cousins going to the Falcons, Russell Wilson to the Steelers, Deontay Johnson gets traded to the Panthers. We've got Derrick Henry to the Ravens. Like, everybody is gone. The free agent market sucks now because everybody's
really
already
does.
been scooped up. It's crazy. MLB opening day, just 13 days away as you're listening to this, and the Yankees might already be falling apart. Garrett Cole's going to get an MRI. That's not good.
No surgery. No surgery though.
Okay.
Is what they're very
Okay.
they're very confident that it's no surgery.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Chelsea got the best of Newcastle on Monday, which kind of sucks. Newcastle looks horrendous. That game was just wild. 3-2 final. Fucking Mudryk scored. Nicholas Jackson scored.
Unbelievable. You know, Mudryk has more open play goals than Rashford does this season in the Premier League. Isn't that crazy?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Not counting penalties.
Yeah. Champions League round of 16 has concluded officially. The draw for the quarter and semifinals is today as you're listening. So we'll be kind of, I think next week we'll kind of talk about the matchups going into them. But, we'll get right back on that stuff when it starts. I think the quarterfinals start in April. So we'll have a couple of weeks off from the Champions League. And we've kind of got almost a week off in the Premier League this week because of the FA Cup. A ton of teams not playing, so there's like no games this weekend, and then we have an international break next weekend, so no Premier League games next weekend. So this week we're gonna do an FA Cup quarterfinals preview because all four matchups have Premier League teams in them, and then next week we're gonna do a Premier League table check-in, which we have been putting off for so long.
I mean, it's about time. I feel like.
I do think it's about time. We're over the halfway point. We're kind of getting there, but that will be next week. This week we'll talk, FA Cup and then Champions League quarterfinals or Champions League round of 16. And then, of course, questions time. Nathan putting out a whole nother list of questions, and I have no idea what the language is that he did for more on this one, so I'll have to figure that one out later. But for now, I do want to bring this up. This was just the weirdest news that got mixed in with the whole free agency thing in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers might be the vice president.
For RFK Jr. Yeah.
Like all the politics aside, with all of that, it's a funny scenario to think about if Aaron Rodgers were to be the vice president of the United States while also being the quarterback of the New York Jets.
Yeah, I know. But it makes sense because I mean, RFK and Aaron Rodgers are huge conspiracy theorists, so really doesn't surprise me.
No, not at all. They mesh. I just like the scenario where like Aaron Rodgers can't make it to a meeting because he has a game is a funny scenario.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers, after he retires, will be like a really famous celebrity still in some own right? I could see him staying popular like through media and shit like that.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a top candidate for having a podcast once he retires.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. I think I think he wants to be a political commentator.
Really?
I think so. From the appearances I've seen, like I've watched the episodes of him on like Joe Rogan, and like I've seen a couple of like the different interviews he's done and like the conversations he has. Like that is like he seems kind of built for it. Like he likes to have the conversation, unlike a
Yeah.
lot of other professional athletes when politics gets brought up. Seems like he likes to have the conversations, whether, no matter what side of the fence you're on, when it comes down to what he's saying, he does seem like he enjoys doing it.
That's a good point, and it's kind of something that we didn't really see a lot of, throughout his career in the NFL. It was really until like the him and COVID stuff,
Yeah.
that news kind of broke, is when he kind of took this new route outside of football. But I mean, hey, I'm here for more
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers content.
Yeah,
Honestly, I just love the guy.
definitely.
He's one of my favorites. So
Yeah, oddly enough, he had to put out a tweet today, like saying that he is aware and has always acknowledged that Sandy Hook happened. That was odd. I guess
weird.
some article came out saying that like he I really don't know the whole backstory, but I guess somebody was like accusing him of saying it didn't happen,
Hmm,
which is crazy, and we're not going to get into that at
no.
all. But I saw that happen, and I was kind of floored by that one as well. A lot of things just keep sliding under the radar because of all this free agent stuff. So that happened. Nonetheless, how about we get into everything in the episode? So the order as it goes, we'll talk about the NFL. We'll start off our AFC East season grades to continue this series. Next week, we'll start up the NFC. We've got the AL East preview to wrap up me and Luke's American League division previews. We've got the FA Cup quarterfinals, the UCL round of 16, and then questions time to round it out. Luke, are you ready to get into the AFC East?
Let's talk about some Patriots, Grayson.
Yes, let's talk about the Patriots. They obviously came in last place in this division, 4-13. I'm going to run down a couple of stats. So I've got four stats that they were horrendous in. It's crazy. When I was looking through a lot of the stat rankings for them, it was a lot of bottom like four. And
Yeah.
then it comes down to like the defensive stuff, and a lot of the defensive stuff, it was just like middle of the pack, except for the rushing defense. The rushing defense was really good. But we'll start off offensive wise, tied 31st in points per game with 13.9 points per game. They were tied with the Panthers for last place. A lot of that happening. A lot of them and the Panthers being alone at the bottom.
Yeah.
They were 30th in yards per game with 276.2. They were 31st in third down conversion at 30.18%. They were 28th in passing yards per game with 180.5. And the one thing they were good at was rush defense. They were first in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per attempt at 3.3 yards.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, that's, I mean, pretty good, and considering they didn't have Judon almost the whole
Yeah.
time, that they really were solid back there in defense, but that offense completely took away from anything that the defense can do. It's hard, especially in 2024 with these offenses that we're seeing today. 13.9 points per game. If that's what you're putting up, you're losing 13 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Probably more.
yeah,
Yeah, like
probably more.
Matthew Judon played only a couple of games this past season. Let me see. Yeah, 2023 he played 4 games.
Mm.
Which sucks because he's been easily the best player on that team since he got there in 2021.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
So yeah, that was definitely a big miss, but then like, my two good performers for this team are both players that at some point in the season they lost to injury, being Christian Gonzalez, who was fantastic up until his
Yep.
injury, and then Kendrick Bourne later in the season, who was fantastic, a wide receiver for them, and they lost him to injury as well.
Yeah, I had Christian Gonzalez and Christian Bearmod. I can't read my handwriting. I think he led the team in sacks. If you have the tab pulled up,
I don't. Let me see. I know the name's not right, but I think you're in. You're close.
Christian Bearmod.
Yes, I think
Maybe
it's
it's Bearmore.
Bearmore or Barnmore. That sounds right. if I'm thinking of the correct person. Yes, Christian Barmore
or more.
led the team in sacks. He was very good all season. He played.
Yeah.
But like he still wasn't like fantastic. Like if we're looking at like the whole scope of the NFL, he wasn't like a top guy when it came to defensive
No.
tackles or even just defensive linemen in general.
Yeah, and to add to that, they were 27th in sacks,
Yeah.
and to keep going, they were 23rd in picks. So I mean, their defense was really good at stopping the other team, forcing punts. But whether it
Yeah.
was sacking or getting the ball back, they weren't really doing a lot of that, which I guess they could improve on going into the offseason. But um, just kind of some of my last notes. I thought that they were definitely the second worst team. I honestly think you can argue that the Panthers were better. But I'm not going to.
Yeah, the Panthers had
But
their moments, two of them particularly.
yeah,
But
two
like
of them.
um I think with
That's
the
funny.
Panthers, like there's something to build on. The Patriots, it was very clear like this needs to change drastically, and it did. They
Yeah.
totally revamped this coaching staff. Bill
Yep.
Belichick leaves. Gerard Mayo comes in. They've already made a couple of moves this offseason to get rid of some guys, to bring some guys in. They're certainly looking forward to their draft because they're likely going to be taking a quarterback with the trading of Mac Jones to be the backup for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like that was pretty surprising and is a pretty solid segue into my worst performers, which was both quarterbacks. Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi were atrocious. Anytime they came into the games, which Mac Jones played in 11 games, Bailey Zappi played in 10 games, both of them were abysmal. Both of them had more interceptions than touchdowns. It was genuinely some of the worst quarterback play that I've seen in a long time from a team.
And on top of that, like if you're getting the same output from two quarterbacks, just leave one in. Your
Yeah.
wide receivers are getting fucked up by changing it,
Yeah.
mid game sometimes. Your offensive coordinators, I feel like, are having to, talk to two quarterbacks and train them both up at the same time, but maybe they, respond well to different things. But yeah, to bounce off of that total, the Patriots threw 21 picks and 16 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they were literally fucking awful. And Ramondre Stevenson,
Yep.
I'm not
He's
letting
my
you
other
off the
one.
hook either. Damian Harris left. You were so good your rookie year whenever you had Damian Harris. But once Damian Harris was gone, I think you and I, going into the season, were very high on him to really, really
Yeah.
explode. Didn't see any of that.
Yeah, and then he gets hurt later in the season, which certainly didn't help him. He had a couple of very good games, but like the fact that in 12 games he had 156 carries for 619 yards, that is just so ridiculously average. And the fact he wasn't scoring touchdowns, he wasn't making big runs like he was last year. It was a total drop off. He is like the epitome of the he was the backup last year, became the starter. Now let's see a full season worth. We saw it, and it was bad.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not like Zeke totally helped him out, but also Zeke, had his games. He certainly had his off games as well. Their run game was really bad, which could have helped if they had an elite running back in that team. Maybe we do see more success for them. Maybe they win a couple more games, but the quarterback play just kept them out of so many games that it was a huge issue. But like on the defensive side, it's not like anybody was particularly bad. I don't remember anybody on the defense being particularly bad. J.C. Jackson, when he got there, got traded from the Chargers, certainly wasn't good. But like it wasn't like he was so bad that like he was, unusable on this team.
Yeah.
Like they were guys all over this defense that I was pretty happy with. Maybe they didn't exceed expectations, but they certainly weren't bad. Guys like Jabril Peppers, who I thought would have had a great year, didn't have the best, but he was still good. Same goes for Josh Uche, who I thought he was going to have a better year, but he had a good one. Across the board, it was kind of that was the story of this team in general. Was like on the defense, they were pretty good, but they weren't good enough, and nobody was bad. On the offense, it was like a couple of guys that stepped up were great.
Yeah.
A lot of them weren't. A lot of them didn't step up. A lot of them were bad. But like you got to commend them for, some of the wins they had this year. Kind of crazy. Like the big win over the Bills. I've never seen a more confident Mac Jones than in that game against the Bills. Like,
Yeah.
they looked so good. And, like, they beat the Steelers and they beat the Broncos. Like, there were these odd moments where it seemed like they had put something together, and then you realize that they won 4 games and they were easily and statistically and visually one of the worst teams, possibly the worst team in the NFL last year.
For sure. And I want to add, since you brought up losing to the Steelers, that that game is my second least favorite Thursday Night Football moment. My first least favorite is when the Browns beat us and Myles Garrett after the game went bonk right on what Mason Rudolph said. So
Yeah.
for that reason, I gave the Patriots an F plus because, I mean, like you said, you hit all the points on the defense there. The offense, I think, really took a lot away from what this defense was able to accomplish, especially with an offense that's turning the ball over, not scoring points. I mean, 4th in rushing yards against per game, 7th in total yards against per game. That's what gives me the F plus there, is that defense. So
Yeah. Yeah, I went ahead and gave him an F. It was bad.
yeah.
I watched a decent amount of Patriots football this year. I regret it. But, like, yeah, they were hard to watch a lot. And that sucks for Bill Belichick primarily because might have derailed his career.
For sure.
So yeah, well, let's move on to the New York Jets, the 3rd place team in this division. They were 7-10. They certainly had their moments. Obviously, the biggest moment being Aaron Rodgers getting hurt on the first play of the year. But
yeah,
to still win 7 games despite Aaron Rodgers getting hurt was helpful, and they won that game. They beat the Bills on the first day of the season. They beat a Broncos team that at the time was kind of turning things around. They beat an Eagles team that was still very good at that point in the year. They beat a Giants team that was kind of no, they were just really bad. The Giants were really bad at that point. But like they stomped the Texans late in the year. I think that might have been one of the games CJ Stroud missed. Or no, CJ Stroud was in that game, but he got hurt during that game. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
And so like that was like a super weird game where they just absolutely killed him. But like it almost just seemed like they couldn't make up for it. Like the Jets just they were bad for sure, and I've got quite a few stats to back that up. 29th in points per game, so just barely ahead of the Patriots. They were 31st yards per game with 268.6. 32nd, very last in the league in red zone touchdown percentage with 32.43%. 32nd in third down conversion, 25.96%. That is horrendous, especially when you have to consider the other 2 teams that we're about to talk about were number 4 and number 3 in red zone touchdown percentage, and in third down percentage. The Buffalo Bills were number 1 at almost 50% of the time. So just about double. And like 30th in passing yards per game with 171.7. The only thing they were really good at was opposing completion percentage, which they were 3rd place in with a 59.96% completion percentage allowed. Look, I think we already knew like the defense was the story of this team, and the offense was going to struggle without Aaron Rodgers, and that's exactly what happened. Like the only good performers on this team were defensive players. Quincy Williams, big surprise defensive player that was amazing this year. Quinnen Williams, his brother, was also fantastic. DJ Reed happily surprised me at many times this season at corner. He was fantastic. I think Breece Hall got a little bit underrated coming off of that injury. He definitely had huge games that carried his performance, but overall it wasn't all that impressive of a season. He definitely relied on big plays, and like he had a considerable amount. He had, I think, 7 20-plus yard rushing plays this season. So, like, that was very good, but, like, we could have seen better from Breece Hall. But he was still a good performer. Obviously, Garrett Wilson just went out there and did his thing with what he had, and he still got 1,000 receiving yards, so that's very commendable for him. But on the bad player side, there's a whole lot more to talk about. Zach Wilson, obviously the poster boy of bad play. Yeah, but he had his games. He did. He had his games. Like, that game where they almost beat the Chiefs, that game was amazing.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson looked like a whole other person. Like, He was 28 for 39, 245, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's not Zach Wilson. That's just not him.
No.
And I'm going to grade this guy a little bit differently and say that Sauce Gardner was a little bit underwhelming this season because it wasn't as good as last year. We got such an elite sample size last year that this year he was just destined to not be as good.
Well, but I do want to bring up that with corners, it gets weird because the corners that don't get thrown at are also pretty good.
Yeah, but he got thrown at
like,
quite a bit this year compared to last year
really?
for sure.
I'm gonna have to look.
Like it seemed like teams are started to figure him out, but he certainly had games where he was locked down, and he has the ability week in and week out to do so. It's just there was some receivers that could go out there and have a good game against the Jets, and some of that was just Sauce getting beat a couple of times, and that's just a matter of not having film on a guy. Last year, nobody had film on this guy because nobody was thrown at him. Nobody would dare do it after a couple of weeks into the season, and it was like, okay. It's hard now. Teams have gotten a full year to look at film. Now they can see, like, okay, when these guys do throw against Sauce Gardner, where are his weak points? And they found them for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair, but he was still definitely really good.
Oh, no, he definitely was. I think he was just underwhelming.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, just some things that I want to hit on. They were like, kind of like the Patriots whenever it came to stats and, where they ranked. They were definitely bottom half of the league there, but defensively, not only were they better than the Patriots, they also had a shit ton more interceptions, a shit ton more sacks. And I'm honestly surprised that only amounted to 3 more wins for the Jets than the Patriots, but here we are. The most disappointing thing for me, and I know you just talked about Breece Hall being, maybe kind of underrated and maybe people dogging on him a little bit too much for last season, but like, you started the season with Michael Carter, Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, and Israel Abracadabra.
Yeah.
Abracadabra. You were 22nd in rushing yards per game. And, that's just awful. But just some guys that I wanted to highlight. I know you talked about the secondary, but Jordan Whitehead and Tony Adams, both of their safeties, really solid back there. And C.J. Mosley is
oh, he's a beast.
C.J. Mosley's incredible.
He's got a big-ass extension, too.
Yeah.
And he deserves it. At his age, too, like, he's still killing it. It's crazy that, a 31-year-old linebacker is still killing it. And he is still one of the best in the game.
For sure. Middle linebackers can be kind of weird sometimes with how they're how they're like aging in the NFL goes. Because you have some go really long, and it's like, but you're like the tackle leader every year. How are you playing?
Yeah, how are you taking that much just physical torture every game?
Like Levante David, Demario Davis with the Saints. Like those guys have been playing for a while at a high level.
It's crazy. Let's go ahead and give our grades, though, for the New York Jets. I give them a C-. They won some games that really surprised me. They had some results that I really liked. At a point, they were still like in a position to make the playoffs late into the season. So I give them a C- because I think there was things that they can build on. Obviously, the defense was fantastic.
Yeah, I gave them a D+, so just one letter grade knocked down from you. And it's really like they found themselves losing a lot of games in a row often. Like after your 9-11 win over Buffalo, you lose 3 in a row. Then you go back to winning 3 in a row, and then you lose 5 in a row. And, that's kind of what killed them for me. And, I wanted more. I thought they had more weapons offensively to still be better. But it all came down to Zach Wilson and him just not showing out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let's go into the Miami Dolphins. This one, they're an interesting topic here. They went 11-6. They came second in this division. They made the playoffs. Offensively, one of the best teams in the league. Probably, when you're looking at consistency, they're probably third. They rank third in a lot of important stats. So third in points per game with 27.9. I think they were only behind, the Ravens and 49ers, which makes sense. Maybe it was Detroit
Yeah.
in San Fran. I can't remember. Third in red zone touchdown percentage, 65.52%. Third in yards per game. Seventh in rushing yards per game, 132.4. Second in passing yards per game, 261.2. And they were fourth in sacks allowed per game with only 1.8. So, like, the best thing about this team all season was the offense. They scored 70 points.
Yeah, I think that's why I was so high on him
Yeah.
because when I came back to do my grades, I saw the real picture with Miami. But you can continue.
Yeah. And, like, when you look back at their season, they beat one team that made the playoffs.
That's the exact stat that I was going to bring up. That is literally incredible.
And it was the
Is
Cowboys.
that not incredible?
It was the Cowboys by 2 points at home.
It's the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like,
But,
they're
like,
the most beatable playoff team.
yeah. Yeah. Like, they lost to the Bills both times. In a big loss to the Bills coming off that 70-point game, which I vividly remember calling. I vividly said, like, I remember this entirely, that, like, the Dolphins exhausted themselves by scoring 70 points against the Broncos. Then they had to play the Bills the next week, which the Bills weren't coming off of a bad game. I think they just beat the hell out of the Washington Commanders the week prior. They go in, they lose 48-20. They play the Eagles. They lose 31-17. And at that time, the Eagles were the best team in the league, probably. At least when you're looking record-wise, they probably were. But, like, we saw
Miami
what
was
they
still
were.
going into that game with one loss.
Yeah. And, like, we saw what they were by the end of the year. The Eagles were not that great. They lost to the Chiefs by 7. They lost to the Titans, which was a bad one. And then, you beat the Cowboys. You get your teeth kicked in by the Ravens, 56-19, and then you lose to the Bills in a game that would have won you the division. That one was tough as well. And then they go into the playoffs, and they, in horrible conditions, lose to the Chiefs in rather embarrassing fashion.
Yeah.
It was just a weird year for them. I will say their best performers, the entire offense. Literally every single person on that offense was the best performer. Tua, a top quarterback this past year. Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane were a lethal running back duo when they were healthy. Tyreek Hill, what else is there to say? He was the best wide receiver this past year. Jalen Waddle is a fantastic compliment to Tyreek Hill. You had, one of the best fullbacks in the league with Alec Ingold, and I talked about how they only allowed the fourth most sacks per game this season. That's a huge compliment to their offensive line after, especially looking at the year prior when it was like, can they stop Tua just from getting hit over and over again?
Yeah.
And they did it this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. But, like, man, how do you have a wide receiver almost get 1,800 yards?
I can tell you.
And when you look at your rushing yards, your RB2 had 800,
Yeah.
and your starter broke 1,000.
Yeah.
For me, I just wish I wish the Dolphins had Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey healthy more at the same time together. I think that really hurt them this season. But I mean, a lot of teams don't even have one shutdown corner. They always had one shutdown corner.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think they ever had a game where both of them didn't play. But yeah, decent in sacks. They were third in sacks as far as, getting to the quarterback there. A big problem that I have is Tua was great, but he did throw 14 interceptions.
True. I agree. I think
that was a lot.
He was taking his shots for sure. And with the two wide receivers he has, it makes sense to be taking shots downfield. But like the inaccuracy problem is still an issue. That's been the issue with Tua this whole time, was inaccuracy and the lack of just an absolute cannon. Because like he can throw the deep ball, but he loses all of his accuracy when he does. He's not the best at throwing in short for short yardage. So it's a weird combination. It worked for Tyreek Hill. Didn't work quite as well for Jalen Waddle, but he still got his yards. He still did very well this season. On the defensive side, I think obviously injuries were kind of the big deal, like you talked about. Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard being hurt. But then also you get into that last couple of weeks of the season, Jalen Phillips tears his Achilles. Bradley
Yeah.
Chubb tears his ACL, I believe, was the injury that he had. Like so many different ones. And I think, you know, looking at what they've done already this offseason, they've made fantastic moves to address those kinds of things. They added Jordan Poyer and Kendall Fuller to this secondary just to bolster it just a
Mm.
little bit. I really like a lot of the moves they've made. I think, Zach Seiler was a fantastic player this past season at defensive end. He's great. He's going to be a big addition. But when we're looking at what they did this season, nobody was bad. Nobody on this team was bad. It was just they couldn't win big games and they couldn't beat top tier opponents.
Yeah, which is obviously a really big problem. Especially,
Yeah,
I would honestly argue that the Dolphins' regular season was super easy as
agreed.
far as like their scheduling. I mean, they played the Panthers, Giants. New England is obviously in their division. They played the Commanders. They played the Raiders. Like they had a lot of easy games this year. Um, and honestly, they just didn't really they didn't really execute like they should have. I
No,
think. So I graded the Dolphins at a B minus.
I gave him a B. I think what this offense was able to achieve, especially looking at the top two skill position players with Raheem Mostert and Tyreek Hill, those two leading the way for this team was outstanding. And what those two guys were able to achieve was outstanding. Like Raheem Mostert had 25 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He was insanely good. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I certainly can't take that away from them whatsoever. Or sorry, he had 18 rushing touchdowns. I think he had 25 total touchdowns. If I'm remembering correctly. No, maybe I I have no idea. No, he had 21
Uh,
total touchdowns. Um, but
yeah.
still, when you break 20 touchdowns in a season at
I
any
mean, that's solid.
position, it's pretty solid. So yeah, I think the offense was just so good. And in the injuries being an issue for the defense, I didn't want to take him down too much, so I put him at
Yeah.
B.
I think I completely agree with giving them a B, but I think my B minus was just the fact that they didn't beat anybody
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah,
And I mean, like, if you look at their stats, they were a really good team in the NFL, but they just literally lost to everybody that was half as good as them.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills, the winners of this division, also 11-6. They were also towards the top in a lot of statistical categories. They were sixth in points per game, fourth in red zone touchdown percentage, fifth in yards per game, first in third down conversion percentage, fifth in rushing yards per game, first in sacks allowed per game, and second in takeaways per game on the defensive side. They were just so good up and down. The problem was early in the season, the offense wasn't working. They make the switch at offensive coordinator, and all of a sudden, they just flipped the switch. Right after that Philly game, they flipped the switch and they won every single game after that. And
Yeah.
then they made
Uh,
a decent effort in the playoffs. They beat a Steelers team in rough conditions, not horrible, not as bad as it could have been if they didn't reschedule it, but not great conditions.
yeah.
They beat the Steelers pretty bad, and then they went and they played a super close game down to the wire with the Chiefs, who went on to win the Super Bowl.
Listen, I would argue one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL.
Agreed.
And I think the reason that they were so underrated is this offense loves freebies. I mean, we are mad Oprah vibes out here for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen had 7 fumbles, 4 of them lost. He threw 18 interceptions,
Yeah.
which is insane. But he also, I mean, he had a fuck ton of yards though, and that's just kind of what you get with the Bills is a slinging it offense. James Cook was absolutely wonderful, 1,100 rushing yards out of a second-year player, and it's James Cook. I don't think his rookie year would have had us expecting 1,100 yards out of this guy. Like, I mean, he
No.
had more yards than Damon Pierce, Travis Etienne. I mean, a lot of guys like that you would have thought would have progressed a little bit quicker than him. Um, Yeah, Dalton Kincaid, probably one of the best rookies that was drafted last year. He
Agreed.
was absolutely
He was very
amazing
good.
in this offense. Um, but I'm gonna break up kind of my rapid fire that I was just doing, and I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Um, are we in the middle of a Stephon Diggs like decline?
Yeah, I think so. I think the way that the Bills offense works and what Stephon Diggs has kind of turned his game into in the last year, it just doesn't work. We've already seen Gabe Davis go. He's gone
Yeah.
from this team in the offseason. I think he was one of their worst performers based on expectations, and I think Stephon Diggs was the other one. Um, I just I don't know what the issue was. I don't know if it was Josh Allen maybe not having his most accurate performances this year. Because obviously he had 18 picks. You can't fully blame that on wide receivers, but like Stephon Diggs, he had a good year, not a great year.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely a good year.
and kind of the same goes for Gabe Davis. It was a good year. It wasn't great. And I think a lot of that has to do with the switch offensive coordinator really threw both of them off. Because with Ken
Yeah,
Dorsey, you could just throw straight down the field. That was the play every time. Send your two wide
yeah,
receivers down the field, see what happens. Stephon Diggs can be good at what they started doing later in the year, but they found other guys that were better. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, they were better. Oh,
bless you.
sorry. Yeah, they were
It
just
is March.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude, that pollen's fucking killing me.
Me too.
But like I said, Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid were better targets for the kind of offense they were running later in the year. James Cook was a better participant in the offense they were running later in the year, and I think that just
Yeah.
kind of pushed away Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Now Gabe Davis is gone. Stephon Diggs might be getting shopped. We've seen, look, he can be a leader, and he has been a leader for the Buffalo Bills many times.
Yep.
He can also get a little bit too emotional and show it a little bit too much publicly.
I still don't know if him and Josh Allen like each other.
I have no clue. I really don't. I can't get a read on
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs and his
No.
relationship with anything with the Bills. Because
Yeah, same.
it seemed like all year it was like he has a bad game. He also blows up on social media, or
Yeah.
one thing doesn't go his way in a game and he has to complain about it afterwards, or we get a story about him doing something in the locker room, or anything. He has a great game. Everybody's like, "Damn, he's back. He looks so good." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like he's just so up and down that the Bills need better if they want to be Super Bowl contenders.
Sure. But if you don't mind, I'm going to take it to the defense now. For a team that had a lot of dogs in the secondary who all got hurt, they were still a very, very difficult secondary to pass against, which I
Yeah.
thought was very impressive. I mean, you had was it Jordan Poyer that went down, or was it Micah Hyde, or was it both of
Micah.
them?
So Jordan Poyer went down right at the end of the year.
Okay.
So he played 16 games. Micah Hyde played 14 games.
Tre'Davious White was out a while though.
Yes, he missed. He was hurt like week 4. Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
So he was the big one they were missing. But the guys that stepped in were great. Teron Johnson had a great year. Christian Benford had a great year at corner.
Douglas.
Yes, they traded for Rasul Douglas, and he ended up being one of the best guys on that team, on that defense for sure. They really missed having Matt Milano. He missed. I think he got hurt week 5. He missed quite a few games. He was a guy that you would like to have in this team. AJ Epinesa, though, was fantastic on the defensive line. Greg Rousseau was fantastic on the defensive line, as well as Ed Oliver. And they just continued to be great. Leonard Floyd had 10.5 sacks for this team. I love what this defense had. It was just there were times where they weren't the best, and a lot of that had to do with the injuries.
Yeah, and just a couple more guys that I want to bring up. Ed Oliver with 9.5 sacks, just 1 sack behind Leonard Floyd, sorry. Terrell Bernard, six
Yeah.
and a half sacks and 3 interceptions on the year. That's not bad.
No,
That's pretty
not at all.
pretty nice. And then Terrell Bernard really stepped up this year for the Bills. 143 total tackles is about what you would want to see in the top half of the league as far as, like linebackers and tackles go. And he really, really, really stepped it up.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, you said Terrell Bernard twice.
Yeah, he had 6.5 sacks and 3
Oh, okay.
picks.
Gotcha. And the
Yeah.
143 tackles. Wow. Okay. Um,
Oh yeah, that was
yeah,
all
that was
him.
him as well.
Damn.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's insane. For some reason, I thought you were talking about Tyrell Dodson and you just mixed them up, but no. Terrell Bernard
No.
killing it and everything. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
look, I think the Bills certainly could have been better. There was a lot of times in that first half of the season where you're like, what the fuck is going on? Obviously, first game
Yeah.
against the Jets, a big one where it's just like, what is happening? The 25-20 loss to the Jags, which I think was in London. I'm pretty sure that game was just kind of weird. A loss to the Bengals middle of the season, followed up by a loss to the Broncos in a close one, and then that Eagles loss, which ended up being the turning point and showed a ton of improvement afterward. Um, yeah, I think the Bills were just like a hard to read team for a little bit, and then you get into the end of the season, and it was like, okay, this is the Bills we should be seeing. This is the let Josh Allen do his thing, let James Cook do his thing, and just everybody else work around that.
Yeah, and after the bye week, they that crazy winning streak that you talked about. In that time frame, they beat the Chiefs, Cowboys, the Chargers, depending on how you view them, and then the Patriots are meh. But then the Dolphins, a division
Yeah,
rival in Miami, and then you go on and beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and it takes the Chiefs once again to get you out of the playoffs. But yeah, the Bills, like just like you said, I mean, really hard to figure out at the beginning of the year, but then when they turned it around for
yeah.
sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and give him my grade. I'm going with a B plus for the Buffalo Bills this past season.
I second that. That is also what I had.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the right way to do it. I don't think they were quite good enough for an A minus. I think, you know, maybe take out that loss to the Patriots, you take out that loss to the Broncos, and maybe we see a different team. Take out two of those losses, maybe they are an A minus team. They put up a good fight against the Chiefs in the playoffs, but I think when you look at the first half of the regular season and the shortcomings that happened rather often, like this was a team that at one point was 4-3.
Yeah.
So and 5-5 as well. So it really took some turning around, and they turned it around big time. Did a great job in the second half of the season and into the postseason. But I think the shortcomings in the first half of the season kind of weighed them down and pulled them down into the B's.
Yeah, for me, it was just honestly the amount of times they turned the ball over. I wonder, and I know that's just kind of been the identity of Josh Allen and the offense that he's had in
Yeah.
Buffalo, but it just makes me wonder, like, what would it look like if he limited that? I mean, they
Yeah.
have a probably like a top, I don't know, 7 defense in the NFL, and then uber talented guys on offense. They just give the ball up like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I knocked them down to a B plus. But really good season for the Bills. They had to fight through a lot to get where they ended up, but they still can't get over the Chiefs. Man, that
No.
also kind of affected my grade as well.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue for them. All right. Anything else before we get into the AL East?
No, just not a very fun division. I'm not gonna lie. I don't enjoy this one.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I'm being honest,
Well, let's
maybe it'd
start
be
off.
cooler if Aaron Rodgers played
Yes, I think next year, looking at this division, it's way
for
more
sure.
promising. We'll have a young
Definitely.
quarterback in New England with a new coaching regime and a whole new look to this offense. We'll have,
Yep.
a Dolphins team that's going to continue to improve, and they've already improved on the defensive side. We're going to have a Buffalo Bills team that hopefully rebuilds at the wide receiver position, and we get to see a full 17 games of this new offense that we saw in those last 6 games. So, yeah, the upside looking at this division next year is huge, and of course the Jets will have Aaron Rodgers. So,
For sure.
big changes for them. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the AL East. This is obviously your division as a Yankees fan. So I'll let you start off
Yay.
with your standings from the bottom to the top.
Well, the Yankees are gonna win the AL East, Chris.
Okay, well, we're starting at the bottom.
Oh, I just wanted to get that first.
Okay,
I think it'll be the Blue Jays at the bottom.
interesting.
I'm gonna go Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, Orioles, Yankees.
Okay, I'm going Red Sox, Blue Jays, Yankees, Rays, Orioles.
Okay. Um. Well, I'll start. So I think
Please.
the Yankees are gonna come in first. I I really like this rotation that we have right now. I think Clark Schmidt continues to get better. As much as I shit on him, I think he continues to get better. Um, we've seen Rodon be absolutely elite before. Hopefully, our patience with him just kind of blossoms into that. But that's kind of still up in the air.
Yeah.
Nestor Cortez, if he's healthy, he's fantastic. And also Stroman added in free agency as well. They'll have a new catcher, Austin Wells, who I'm super excited about. But we still have Jose Trevino. Anthony Volpe, I think, can only get better. Multiple sources are saying that the Yankees are going to push for Dylan Cease, but I wrote these notes on Wednesday. He
Yeah.
got traded to the
That's tough.
Padres. Um, I guess the Yankees are fine with LeMahieu at third base because I have literally seen no Yankee rumors on third base as far as free agents go. Absolutely nobody that they're talking to from what I've researched.
There's not much out there.
Aaron, yeah, not much out there. Aaron Judge, if he stays healthy, obviously that'll be great for us. I can't wait for Jason Dominguez to be healthy again and playing in our center field because I think he offers a long-term option there. But we have Verdugo on the team as well from free agency that, he'll be there as well. But so I just want to conclude. This is my last thing about the Yankees. Juan Soto in spring training, and I wrote these notes. We're recording Thursday, so I wrote them on Wednesday.
Yeah.
In 21 at bats, he has 6 runs, 9 hits, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, which he's tied for first in. There's a lot of guys that have 4. 10 RBIs. He's batting a 429, 478 OBP, a 1.095 slugging percentage, and a 1.573 OPS.
Hell yeah.
Juan Soto. Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. I know that it is so typical for a Yankees fan to go into a season thinking that they're going to absolutely dominate, but honestly, this team is one of the best I've seen. And Giancarlo Stanton, he's working out. He's adding some movement to his workouts. He's getting slimmer. I saw you blink right there. I personally don't know if I think Giancarlo, he had his worst season last year, right? But
Yeah.
he seems a lot slimmer. And I've heard that he's
It's
updating
good.
his swing a little bit as well. I don't know what that's going to do for him, but I really do think this is a solid Yankees team if it stays healthy.
Yeah, I think they can be very good. They can win this division. I just think it comes down to the effectiveness of this rotation and the offense coming from the infield. The offense outside of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and possibly Giancarlo Stanton is not all that great. And I think that's an issue for sure. Because we've seen years, like the past couple of years, where Aaron Judge is the source of offense.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really gotten them anywhere. And I think with how bad LeMahieu has been, and Rizzo has been, and Volpe's bat has not been good, Glaber's bat is sometimes there, sometimes not. And then obviously there's no third base play. To go off of Jose Trevino, not a great hitter either. He's great behind the plate. He's just not a great hitter. I don't love the offensive outlook for this team, but I can respect the fact that Verdugo can be very good offensively. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, of course, lead the way. They're top players in baseball. Probably 2 top 10 players in baseball. So I can see how this team could be very good, but I need to see more on the offensive side, and I need to see consistency out of the rotation. Garrett Cole can be consistent if he can get on the mound. Marcus Stroman is so, 1 year he's good, 1 year he's not. Half the season he's good, half the season he's not. He is so inconsistent when it comes down to what we think we might see out of him. Carlos Rodon has been a huge bust to start his career with the Yankees. And like you said, Cortez, he's been great at times, but we haven't really seen a full sample size of Nestor Cortez all the way through a full year, where he's just been the guy the whole time. But I'd
Yeah.
like to talk about some of the
Yeah,
other teams as
all
well.
those points are fair. All those
Yeah.
points are definitely fair. That's one thing I will admit is that I the talent is there. It's just like you said. I know that our offense hadn't been that great. Notice how I didn't take any notes on Anthony Rizzo. I would rather him be sent back.
Yeah.
But the Yankees team is good. It's just always been volatile. That's been our
Yeah.
problem. But yeah, let's talk into the other team.
Yeah,
So
I'd love
in
to
second
start with the
place,
Orioles.
yeah. Sorry, I know I ran your cheeks with that Yankees talk right there, but Orioles, I'm confident that they will come in second in this division, if not win it.
Yeah.
They just continue to get better. They're so young, of course, what everybody talks about. One thing that I think is going to hurt him is Kyle Bradish and is it Jonathan Means? Is that what his name is?
John
I only have
Means.
his last
Yeah.
name. John Means. They're out until like early May, I think is what
Yeah.
I've seen both of them. So we really need Grayson Rodriguez to step up for the Orioles in that first month of the season, but I don't really know if he can. He
He
definitely
can.
can. I just don't know if he will.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bautista and Cano are just going to dominate again.
Well,
That's
Bautista is
kind
going to
of a
miss like
given.
the entire year.
What?
Yeah, Felix Bautista is going to miss most of the season
Since when?
since he got hurt last year at the end.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay. My bad. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, they still have Yanni or Cano, who also could be like a top closer in the league.
Yeah.
And then
And they
I
picked
think
up Craig
probably
Kimbrell.
yeah. On top of Craig Kimbrell, they also added Corbin Burns to
Yeah,
their
that's
rotation.
huge.
That's massive for this team.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive for this team.
Yeah, and like when it comes to the Orioles, at least on the pitching side, like I'm not all that worried about the guys that are hurt or are going to miss time this season. Like you said, Felix Bautista, his role can be filled. Obviously, he's fantastic, but his role can be filled. His role can be filled by Yennier Cano, who showed that he can do it, by Craig Kimbrell, who has spent years and years of his career doing it. And then on the starting side, yeah, Kyle Bradish, John Means going to be hurt for a little bit, but Tyler Wells showed us some great things over this past year. Dean Creamer said that he wants to throw 200 innings for this team next year.
Wow.
Like that's the kind of thing you want to see out of these guys. And if we can get that, and then of course Corbin Burns, if we can just see Corbin Burns all year, this Orioles team's going to be fantastic. He is a yearly Cy Young candidate. It's just a matter of him being in the game. He's just got to be there, and he's got to be himself, and you'll get some out of him. But the offense is where it's at for this team. Obviously, Adley Rutschman, kind of the figurehead of this Orioles team. But on top of that, Gunnar Henderson, the AL Rookie of the Year, right? Right there. And then, Jorge Mateo has had his times where he's been one of the best guys in the league. Also, times where he's one of the worst. All I know is that
Mullins.
Yeah, same goes for Cedric Mullins for sure. But guys like Ryan Mountcastle and Ryan O'Hearn, both first basemen, both light up the ball. They were huge parts of this team last year. They're going to do the same this year. And I think with the guys coming up, you've got you could have an outfield of Rookie of the Year candidates if you really wanted to this season. Mm-hmm. And then you could throw Jackson Holliday at shortstop. Like, he's the number one guy. He's going to probably be playing shortstop a month into the season, maybe a little further into the season. But Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad are most likely going to be on the opening day roster in the outfield. So if you have both of those guys and you throw in Austin Hayes, who was one of the best players, honestly, in the MLB last year that nobody talked about. He was one of the most underrated players last season in left field. He's going to make a huge contribution. You're going to have those two Rookie of the Years. You also have Anthony Santander and Cedric Mullins that can go out there and play great baseball day in, day out for the entire year. So, like, they are just loaded with depth at every position that they could think of. Because Jorge Mateo's there at shortstop. Jackson Holliday could take his spot in a second. At third base, you've got so many guys that can play third base, it's ridiculous. Obviously, Gunnar Henderson is going to be holding it down, but you also picked up Nick Maton. You also picked up Tyler Nevin. You already had Ramon Urias. Like, those guys can all play third base and have played third base at a successful level. Second base is the biggest question mark, but you could also just throw Nick Maton at second base, and Jordan Westberg can play second base. There's a whole bunch of guys that can do that as well. They just have this wealth of talent coming from the farm system that is unbeatable in the MLB right now.
What are they feeding them kids, Grayson?
Dude,
syringes.
I don't know.
Just kidding.
I don't know what they're doing for the. I think one of the teams in their farm system is the Bowie Bay Sox. I think that's right. I don't know. I don't know all my minor league affiliates, but nonetheless, I think the Orioles would be great. Let's talk about the Rays real quick because they're a weird case. They can be
very,
great.
very weird case.
They could be great and they could be horrendous. But every year we look at this roster and we're like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem that good. And then they're fantastic. Then they win 100 games. Like, they just do that every year.
Yeah. My biggest thing with the Rays, they really have an incredible lineup full of batters. Your Josh Lowe, your Randy Rosarina, your Yandy, your Brandon Lowe, Isaac Paredes as well. But Glasnow traded to the Dodgers. Shane McClanahan died. Obviously, he didn't.
Every
die.
year he died. He dies every season. It's crazy. I hate it because he's so good.
He's ridiculous. He's an incredible lefty. But Aaron Civale, Zach Eflin, and I think it's pronounced Zach. Is it Littell?
Yes, I believe so.
They're going into this season with no pitching.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be really brutal for them. I mean, that offense can do all they want, but I mean, no pitching.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for their pitching is that they need the young guys to figure their shit out. Because Shane Baz and Taj Bradley have both come up in the past couple of years and haven't quite been what they've been, projected to be. They need to see those guys step up because, it seems like this team changes every year and they don't change at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, this team looks different every year when they throw somebody out on the field, but it's really not all that different anytime. Like, last year it was, Wander Franco, the face of the team. Wander Franco's never playing professional baseball ever again, at least in America. So you can ship him off. But you added Ahmed Rosario, who is a just absolutely average to good shortstop. He's an average to good hitter. He plays pretty solid defense, but you have Taylor Walls, who's a very enticing player at third base. You have Isaac Paredes, who was amazing last year, and he's only 25 years old. You have Brandon Lau, who has just always been a power-hitting lefty at second base, which is hard to find for a second baseman. Yandy Diaz is one of the best contact hitters we've seen at first base, and he's 32 years old. In the outfield, they could throw out any, combination of these guys, and it's going to be great. Randy Rosarena obviously is going to be out there every day. You can assume Josh Lowe will be out there every day, but you'll see some Raimel Tapia. You'll see some Richie Palacios. You'll see some Jose Siri, and they're all going to get it done. And Harold Ramirez was a super underrated DH last year, and he's returning as their designated hitter. So I love the Rays, but they still might be bad.
Yeah, no, I could see them coming in last in the division if they have some injuries. I think Yandy's a big make or break player for me.
Yeah,
I think he's really good. I just don't know how much longer it's gonna last for him. Because I think he's been elite. I can see it coming to an end this year.
For sure. Yeah, age is going to catch up to him for sure. But he's been on quite a run since 2020.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's been incredible. But I think, I don't know, this might be the year for no Yandy. But yeah, anyway, this Rays team, they honestly could win the division.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I see it. I don't see them coming in last because I know for a fact either the Blue Jays or the Red Sox will be worse than them. But they could be anywhere from fourth to first.
Yeah.
They could win
a lot of movement for the Rays.
Yeah, they could win 80 games. They could win 100 games. There's no telling with this Rays team. They could win 75 games for all I know. Yeah. But I'm interested to get
first or fourth.
Yeah.
Well.
Honestly,
it's just going to be another one of those divisions.
I'm interested to get your take on why the Blue Jays are last and the Red Sox are fourth.
So, this is honestly just kind of a feeling thing. I
Okay,
don't necessarily have evidence to back this up. I
fair.
will admit. In fact, the Blue Jays are actually my dark horse to win the division potentially, but I have them coming in last. So I think Bo Bichette and Vladdy need to improve, and that might be
Agreed.
kind of crazy
I
to
don't know
say.
about
Not
Bo as
not so
much
much
as
for
Vlad.
Vladdy. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair. That's fair. Well, wait. Yeah, yeah. So Vladdy needs to improve more than Bo does,
yes.
is what you're saying. I agree. But with them kind of being the only two guys, because Springer is kind of here and there, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is.
Justin Turner has been good before, but he's definitely at the end. So is Kevin Kiermaier. What are Kirk and Varsho gonna do? And if Bo and Vladdy can't be elite together, I could see this team just completely collapsing. I mean, Alex Manoah comes back, but he's a huge question mark.
Yeah.
Kevin Gosman is definitely one of the best pitchers in the league, and definitely the best pitcher on the Blue Jays right now. But Barrios and Cassett are okay. I could see them having really bad seasons as well.
Yeah, I think
I
there's a
just feel
lot of
like
volatility when you look at the Toronto Blue Jays.
exactly,
Like,
exactly, yeah,
this rotation could look great. They went out, they pick up a big international free agent in Yariel Rodriguez, who was playing in Korea, I believe. He's from Cuba. They still have Alek Manoah. They have Yusei Kikuchi. They have Kevin Gosman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett. They have all these guys, but it's like, okay, a realistic rotation is probably Gosman, Barrios, Bassett, Kikuchi, probably just based off experience, and then Alek Manoah at 5. Maybe switch Kikuchi and Manoah.
yeah,
I don't know how good that really is because I've talked about Jose Barrios many times on this podcast, talked about how he can go out and he could strike out 15 players and give up no hits in 7 innings. He could also give up 5 runs in the first inning and get pulled. Every other start,
yeah.
it could go like
Didn't
that.
the Braves do that to him
Probably.
last season? I literally think the Braves killed Barrios
I
last
wouldn't
year.
be surprised because he just does that. I do like their bullpen quite a bit. I really like Genesis Cabrera. Yimi Garcia is pretty good. Chad Green, Tim Meza, Nate Pearson was a guy that, when he was coming up, he was going to be the next big thing as a starting pitcher. Didn't quite make it there, but he can be great in relief. Jordan Romano, one of the best to just going out there and getting a save. And Zach Pop as well, a very good relief pitcher. I definitely agree with your thoughts on the offense, where it's like anybody, could be good, but a lot of them could be bad. Like Bo Bichette is going to play well for sure, and a lot of the question marks surround Vladdy for the most part. But like we saw some guys really step up for them last year, like Davis Schneider at second base last year. He ended the season on one of the best hot streaks a guy who's just came up has ever gone on. David Schneider was ridiculous for a while. My question for them is the outfield. There's 4 guys right now on their roster that play outfield. George Springer, Dalton Varsho, and Kevin Kiermaier. They make an outfield, and then they have Nathan Lukes, who has never really seen success in the MLB. I feel like you need a little bit more than that. Yes, Kiermaier, Varsho, and Springer is a fantastic outfield, but you need
Yeah,
depth in the outfield because George Springer has showed he can't play a full healthy season, and Varsho is kind of a question mark when it comes to his versatility. They might need him elsewhere. He's a super versatile player. He doesn't play the best left field. Kiermaier is an elite center fielder, but
sucks at hitting.
yes, sucks at hitting, and sometimes you don't always want him in the lineup.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
I think there's a lot of question marks around them. But with the Red Sox, like the Red Sox are just so weird. They
Oh,
make
dude.
moves that don't matter every single time. They make the most
Listen, Red
insignificant
Sox.
moves. It's crazy.
They do. Giolito is probably the biggest one here for me.
Ugh. Their rotation
It,
looks horrendous.
don't don't think Red Sox fans that I put you guys at fourth that I'm letting you guys off the hook. Y'all still are my least least favorite team
Yeah.
of all time. Their whole rotation relies on Giolito's elbow, and even if
Yeah.
his elbow's good, is he really that good? You gave Brian Bello a really nice extension, but honestly, like that was a lot of money to give to him for not too much of a time frame of
No.
success, in my opinion. But he was fantastic. And Trevor Story stay healthy. Maybe, maybe not. Um, Tristan Cassis just simply needs to step up. And then my last note here is Rafael Devers needs to find out if he's going to be elite or not,
Okay. I'm a
in my
Rafael
opinion.
Devers defender. That's been my role on this podcast for quite some time. He is elite. I don't think we can take that away from him. He sucks. He sucks at defense. I already know that. But his bat is ridiculous. And for a left-handed hitter, he is exactly what you want at third base. There's nothing on the Boston Red Sox that makes me think that Rafael Devers has any chance to win there. That's the problem.
That's very true.
Nothing about this team should motivate him to go in and play his best because Vaughn Grissom is going to be on this team. And a aging Trevor Story is on this team. And Bobby Dalbec is on this team. Like, yes, Tristan Cassis, awesome.
Yeah.
He's going to be the first guy that gets traded if they need something. If they really want to go out and get a needle mover, you have to give up on Tristan Cassis, which sucks because he's great. Luckily, they have very good players that can play in the outfield. And guys that maybe not a lot of people are talking about. Masataka Yoshida is awesome. He was fantastic last year. Did not get enough credit for what he did. Ceddanne Rafaela is coming up. He's going to be on the opening day roster. He is awesome. A little bit undersized. He's a fantastic player. Tyler O'Neill still plays a great outfield, and he can be a power bat when he needs to. And Jarren Duran can play some great center field out there. They're just still not good enough. There's no needle mover on this team other than Rafael Devers.
Yeah.
That's why I have him in
I
fifth.
completely agree. I have them in fifth as well. I'm just like I said, going off of this weird feeling that I have that the Blue Jays are just going to collapse.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about some MVP candidates because there is some great talent in this division. Let's start with the Yankees guys. Aaron Judge, of course. Juan Soto, of course. And my first pitcher for MVP could be Garrett Cole.
Yeah, those are the three guys that I have. And I wanted to say going forward with this list, I am only going to do guys that I think could actually win an MLB MVP, not like of the division.
Okay.
I want to do like league.
Gotcha.
So, Garrett Cole, Soto, Judge for me.
Okay. I kind of stuck to that as well when making mine. So, from the Orioles, I have Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, and that's it.
Me too. I threw Cano on this list as well. I think he probably will be like a top 4 closer in the league. I really do.
Yep.
So I threw him on here as well.
For the Rays, I have Randy and Josh Lowe, and that's it.
Same.
Yeah, I think Josh Lowe could take a huge step this year and be like one of the best outfielders.
Yeah, I actually had Yandy as well.
Okay. And then for the Red Sox, I have Rafael Devers and Yoshida. I think Yoshida could take another step and be very, very good.
I just have Devers here.
Okay, and then for the Blue Jays, I just have Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I actually threw in Gosman.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's
me.
great. So, I don't blame you. For Cy Young, obviously Garrett Cole leads that one off. And then I have two from the Orioles, both Corbin Burns and Kyle Bradish. I know Bradish will miss some time. I think he'll get back early enough that he'll be fine and would actually have a chance at winning Cy Young. So those ones make the most sense to me. And then I do have a couple more. I think if Shane McClanahan can get back early enough, I'm always going to consider him a Cy Young candidate just because I know he can do it. And then Kevin Gausman, of course, from the Blue Jays.
Nobody from the Red Sox. Huh?
Hell no.
So I actually had nobody from the Rays, but I put Brian Bello on for Boston. The Blue Jays, I have Gosman and Manoah maybe. That would have to be like
Nah,
crazy comeback season.
I think
But
it's
I
over
I
for
just
Alek Manoah.
it might be, but I just put him on there because I know that the talent was there. I
Yeah,
mean, it's still the same pitcher. It's not like they replaced him completely.
true.
He still was good before. So like I said, no one for the Rays. For Baltimore, I have Bradish, Burns, and I actually put in Grayson Rodriguez just because of I want to see what that first month without Bradish and Means
Yeah,
looks like,
I
where
agree.
it's really just Burns and Grayson Rodriguez. So I think he could take the jump there. And then for the Yankees, I have Garrett Cole, and I even threw in Marcus Stroman here because I think Marcus Stroman could have a good year
Yeah,
with New York.
yeah. Are you guys getting Blake Snell or not?
That'd be kind of ridiculous.
Because like
Why would we
all
get
the
Blake Snell?
signs just keep pointing to Blake Snell being a Yankee.
What would be our rotation if we got Blake Snell?
It would be Garrett Cole, Blake Snell, Marcus Stroman, Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortez, or Nestor Cortez and then Rodon.
Gotcha.
I would assume.
Isn't there's someone so you
I'd be leaving off
wonder what
Clark
happens
Schmidt.
with Clark Schmidt then.
He'd go
Yeah.
back to the bullpen, I think.
I don't know. I've heard that he may have some value.
Yeah, yeah,
Just kind of reading up on articles for trading.
for
Oh,
sure. Let's talk rookie of the year because this is easily the best division when it comes to rookies, for sure. Especially going into this year, the prospects on these teams are ridiculous. Obviously, you start off with the big three for the Orioles, being Jackson Holliday, Heston Kjerstad, and Colton Cowser. All of them could be making huge impacts. I think Kjerstad and Cowser have the leg up because they're going to start the year on the opening day roster, whereas Jackson Holliday, he's going to get his service time manipulated. They're going to wait a couple of months.
what about Kobe Mayo?
He could be. I think he's a weird case. He definitely could be there, but like I really can't tell.
You know what I can't tell? I cannot tell what an MLB rookie is every time I make my notes.
So fucking difficult, man. The way I've been
I
doing
don't.
it is I just have to go and look at MLB Rookie of the Year odds.
Yeah,
That's the best way to do it because those are the
that's
guys that can
fair.
actually win it. Um,
Because for the Rays, I have Taj Bradley. I was reading some articles that like for some reason he hadn't like been. He's not.
yeah, he
Considered
doesn't have
a.
a full year of service time yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't get it, man. I don't understand. Um, I'm the best way to do it is look him up on Baseball Reference because it'll say, um, okay, so Taj Bradley is not able to be a rookie this coming year. He
Okay.
exceeded his rookie limits in 2023.
Okay.
But yeah, like there's so many guys where it's just like there's no telling. Um, let's see. Kobe Mayo, I believe, does still have his because he hasn't even come up yet. If he does come up,
Yeah.
then he's got a chance for sure. I just don't think he will come up. He's probably a guy that'll get traded, just because
He's
he
another
plays
third
infield.
baseman.
Yeah, he plays infield, and Gunner's
Yeah.
going to take that spot.
For sure.
The only thing I could think of is if they
I'll,
put Gunner back at shortstop, Jackson Holliday to second, then they could bring Kobe up to play third.
which would address the second base issue as
Yeah.
well. They really the Orioles have so many things they could do in the infield.
Yep.
It's really unfair.
It is kind of crazy. For the Rays, Junior Caminero is amazing.
Oh, I can't wait for him.
I'm super excited to see him come up.
Yeah.
He is a guy that I've been pretty interested in seeing come up. Another one is Curtis Mead. I really like him. He's fantastic. He's actually Australian, which you don't come by all that often in the MLB. Only a handful of Australian guys that have played. But yeah, I'm super excited for him to come up. He's got a chance to be extremely good. And I'd like to hope that he will be. And then for the Yankees, Everson Pereira. I think he is a
Yes.
guy that could definitely be up there for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Austin Wells, I think, is still up to be a rookie. And I think so is Jason Dominguez. But I don't know how much time Dominguez is actually missing. I would assume it's a lot.
Yeah.
'Cause he got hurt late.
Yeah, I think he's going to miss a significant amount of the year. Austin Wells, I do believe, um, will still have a rookie. Yeah, he only played 19 games in the majors, so yeah, he'll definitely be eligible to be a rookie of the year. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't know if he'll have the offensive statistics to be a rookie of the year as a catcher. Um, but he also can play in the outfield. It's just not where he would prefer to be played. For the Blue Jays, Ricky Tiedemann is awesome. Can't wait for him to come up. Same
Yep.
goes for Aurelvis Martinez. He is also amazing. And then the Red Sox, Ceddanne Rafaela, who I already kind of talked about earlier.
Okay, so we have some different guys here for the Blue Jays and Red Sox. For the Red Sox, I only had Marcelo Mayer,
Oh, okay.
shortstop.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know if he's going to come up. That's the big thing with Marcelo Mayer. I don't know if he's going to make it to the majors this year.
well, with Trevor Story and his injury issues and them kind of just being depleted
True.
everywhere, who knows? The Red Sox could
Very
get
true.
really aggressive with who they're bringing up. But
Because
and
I
then for
think
the
he's
Blue
only
Jays, so
reached. I think Mayer's only reached Double A as of now.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Then for the Blue Jays, I had Tiedemann at pitcher. I had CJ Van Eek, EYK
Yeah.
is his last
I've
name.
heard of him. I don't know if he's coming up. Um, it's so tough to know with a lot of these guys. Um, yeah, so he's only made it to Double A as well, but that was all in kind of one season really. 2023,
Yeah,
he played in rookie ball, Single A, and Double A. So
wow,
that's pretty big.
moving up quick.
Yeah,
Um, I had Emmanuel Bonilla in the outfield.
I've never heard that one.
Um, and then I had Landon, and his last name's French. It's like Maroudis. Are two guys that I found in their prospects.
No clue.
He's a pitcher.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a tough game when it comes down to the guys that like haven't they either aren't like under a microscope like Jackson Holiday or guys that just like we have no idea when they're gonna come up. It's very hard
Yeah,
to judge for rookie of the year stuff, but like any guy could literally come up and win rookie of the year.
yeah, for sure. And I just feel like they're in baseball. They go so uncovered
Yeah.
by like the mass media until they're big because there's just baseball is kind of like soccer in the way where like it's a really big like youth
Yes.
system.
Yeah. Like you hear
Which is
nothing
interesting.
about the young players until they've made it to the top level. Unless you're
Mhm.
really into it. Like obviously, like I'm hearing about these guys as they get drafted and I'm following along with the top guys throughout the minors. And like I'm sure there's soccer fans that are like, "Holy shit, like I've been watching Lamine Yamal ball for, the Barcelona Youth Academy for years." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool. Now he's famous, now everybody talks about him."
It's a different like culture that I think is very interesting to look at because baseball they're kind of set on and this is kind of like league wide I would say baseball is more set on letting players nurture like no
Yes.
matter how good they're doing in the minor leagues
Yeah.
sometimes while soccer you could have like three good games in a row and then you're into the first team and then the team's buying into you like where did Kobe Manu come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean, so it's different.
Yeah, and I think part of that also comes from like these guys on these, baseball contracts, even, if you get into like international free agents, the youngest they could be is 16 and sign a deal. So
Mhm.
like they, some of these soccer academies, these kids are joining these teams like 6 years old.
Yeah.
So it's like these, the scouts and the youth development, team have had so many years to figure out things about these players, and so like, you know, a guy can make his debut at 16 for the senior team, and he's been with the club since he was, for 8 years.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy in the MLB could make his debut at 24, and he's been with the club or he's been with them for 8 years.
Yeah.
And then that's only an international free agent, because otherwise it's, an 18-year-old kid that came out of high school, or a 20-year-old kid that went to 2 years of college to then go get drafted.
Yeah.
So it's like, a kid comes out of college, he gets 2 years in the minor leagues, and then he gets pulled up, and he's already 24, or he's already 22.
Damn. I didn't know that they had a different age limit for international players.
Yeah.
Is that seen as unfair in
No.
the baseball community?
No, because they get paid like absolutely nothing, to an unfair point. So,
Gotcha.
no. And it's also because they don't have the same kind of youth system as we do. Like, there's so many stories, like Jose Ramirez. I think we've talked about it on this podcast before. Jose Ramirez has a fantastic story about, like, playing in adult leagues as a, like, 13-year-old or, like, 15-year-old.
Wow.
And, like, having to, like, flee because the guys he was playing with were involved in, like, gangs and, like, all this shit. So, like, it's not, like, these guys don't just play for their high school in South America and in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different
Is Jose
world.
Ramirez a good changeup guy?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I get mixed up with Jose Ramirez a lot.
Okay.
I forget that he's always the Guardians guy.
Yes, he'll never leave.
No.
Despite the trade rumors every year, he is going nowhere.
He is the same as Mike Trout.
Yes, yeah. Well, Mike Trout actually might get traded within the next 2 years.
We'll see. What if it happens mid-season next year?
It could happen mid-season this year.
Since we're already talking about it, why has no one signed Trevor Bauer yet? Who wants to play for the league minimum?
So I think a big part of it is that the Dodgers still have his rights, I believe. So you would have to trade with the Dodgers to get Trevor Bauer.
Interesting.
It's kind of like Sean Payton. The Broncos had to trade the Saints some picks to get Sean Payton.
Yeah.
I know it's an odd comparison, but it's the same deal. I think the Dodgers still have his rights. I could be wrong. But it's also like, as much as you would think that a guy with that kind of personal brand would be nice to bring on, he's a rather polarizing character in baseball.
He calls out a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That he sees. Yeah.
And a lot of times, he's not always on the winning side of things when it comes to public opinion.
Yeah.
So from a PR standpoint, a lot of teams probably don't want him.
Yeah.
Whether he would help them out or not. He would probably add to just about every rotation in the MLB right now. But do you want to take on him? Because he's not, known for being the best teammate. And he's not known for being the best guy in general. His public his public face is not great. So is it really, you gotta weigh your options with him.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well let's move on. I want to get into some soccer, so let's go ahead and talk about the FA Cup, the quarterfinals starting up this weekend. We've got some interesting matchups here. Let me pull them up real quick. I know Newcastle's playing Man City. Give me one moment while I pull this up. I know there's
Wolves and Coventry.
Yeah, Wolves and Coventry is the first matchup. So Wolves and Coventry. Do we really care about this one? Score prediction: Wolves 2-0. That's your preview.
Coventry 1-0.
Awesome. Now let's talk about Man City Newcastle.
All right.
Man City's going to beat the living shit out of us, right?
No, come on. Don't do that to yourself.
No, they are. And they're not going to have Kevin De Bruyne, and they're not going to have Ederson, and they're going to kick our ass.
What makes you so sure?
We just lost to Chelsea.
Bro, come on.
We gave up a goal to Nicholas Jackson and Mikel Mudryk in the same game.
Those are two awful players.
Yeah. Those are not the kind of guys we should be giving up goals to. If Cole Palmer scored a hat trick, I would accept it. Nicholas Jackson and Mikel Mudryk scoring goals, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah. After that Newcastle goal, Cole Palmer has as many goals and assists as Jude Bellingham now.
Yeah, look at that. Also, I will
Yeah.
say Anthony Gordon, first ever England call up for next week's international duty. Cole Palmer got the
Wow.
England call up as well.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. A lot of I think there was a lot of first time call ups. Maybe that's something we'll briefly talk about next week to kind of replace the UCL. We'll talk about some of those call ups that we saw because I think it's a lot of like, let's see how this guy does. See if he wants, see if we want to put him on the Euro squad.
Oh,
Because
for
I
sure.
believe this is the last international break before the end of the season. Let me check while I'm thinking about this topic instead of talking about the FA Cup. Um, sorry, we have two in
What?
March. No, one in. Fuck, I don't know. These don't seem right. Oh wait, they are right. Okay.
They just all clock out at the same time. It's not scheduled.
Yeah, the European Championship qualifiers start, I guess, technically next week on the 18th. They end on the 26th, and then there's not another international break until the end of the season when the Euros start. So yeah, this is your last chance to see, put a squad out there.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
this is a good time for it. But yeah, back to Man City, Newcastle. I just don't think we have enough firepower at the moment that we can throw out on the field. Kieran Trippier is now out. Joe Ellington's still out. Harvey Barnes back on the injured list. Anthony Gordon is a little bit banged up after this match against Chelsea where he got subbed off early. So it's like it's really tough to envision us beating Manchester City, despite the fact that they probably won't throw out a great lineup.
Yeah, well, on top of that, I think you guys have in your favor, the fact that Manchester City really, had a tough time against Liverpool. Obviously, Newcastle isn't Liverpool, but Liverpool, looking at the stats, higher possession, 9 more shots. I mean, Liverpool were there a lot more than City was.
Yeah.
Your own goal came from John Stones, so I don't know. I don't know if this is really fair to do, but the way that I look at it is you kind of lost the game. Like that was probably something lucky that happened right there. That was your only goal was from your defender when you started Holland, Alvarez, Foden, De Bruyne. But I mean, everybody was playing. So, in Liverpool, throughout their lineup, they actually started a goalie that I have never heard of before. Connor Bradley
I think he's a
and,
young
and
one.
Kwanzaa. Yeah, I think he is too. A number 62
Gotta be.
goalie played against Man City and got a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, and Arsenal
And
ended up
as
winning
of
that
new,
match essentially.
yeah, exactly. Um, So as for Newcastle, I didn't know about Kieran Trippier getting hurt. That really blows for y'all. I
Yeah.
love Trippier a lot. I don't know. I think Newcastle will give them a good game. I don't think City are going to just wipe the floor with them. I'm going to go 2-1 City.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-0 City. I can't trust our goal scoring ability at the moment.
That's fair.
All right, well let's talk about your team. Chelsea taking on Leicester City on Sunday.
Oh man, once upon a time, a couple of years ago, we lost the FA Cup final to these guys.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking for revenge here. I don't enjoy talking about Chelsea like I do the Steelers and the Yankees because I don't fucking know. I
Yeah.
don't know what's gonna happen. We could lose this game 2-0, 1-0. We could win it 3-0. I mean, it's brutal. Being a Chelsea fan these past couple
Yeah.
seasons, really. Um, we haven't lost in 3 games, which I guess is good. That EPL Cup final to Liverpool, Chelsea once again losing in a cup final, nothing new there. Um, you know, barely edging it out over Leeds somehow. A 3-2 over Leeds in the FA Cup is not really a result that, obviously you want to win, but Leeds played way too well.
Yeah.
A draw against Brentford and then the win against Newcastle. Chelsea have been giving up a lot of goals recently. And in fact, I would say we've been lucky to not lose these past 3 games because we've given up 2 every single in our last 3 games. We've given up 2 goals. We've just been lucky to score 3 goals in 2 of those games. So I really, Chelsea are just too inconsistent to predict.
Yeah,
I mean, do you agree with me there? Is that fair to say?
I do. I think with Chelsea, it's like some days they can go out and they can score, 5 goals, and they can score 3 goals, or they could go like 3 weeks straight without one.
Yeah,
There's really no
exactly.
telling with them. Um, but I think against Leicester, you have a good chance. Um,
Fair.
so I think I'm going to take Chelsea 1-0.
1-0. Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with Leicester in the championship. Let's see how
I have no idea.
I want to see how Jamie Vardy's doing.
Probably horrendous, if I had to
Statistics.
guess.
Yeah,
No, he's the top scorer in the championship.
done the whole thing.
Yeah, 13 goals.
The Vardy party, always. It's
Sure.
never not.
Actually, it seems like Leicester's dominating, actually.
Hey,
They're in
are they gonna
first
come right back up?
they're in first place, 3 points clear of second place at the moment.
Wow, good for Leicester.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah, they are by far the best. That's
The
crazy.
FA Cup quarterfinal is 2 legs, right?
I was going to ask the same question.
I think it is.
So, yeah, I don't know. Um, let's see. I don't think it is.
No, I guess it isn't. I guess
It is
the
not.
whole quarterfinals are all this weekend. Um,
I'm still taking you
I'm
guys
gonna take
1-0.
Chelsea. Uh, 2-1. Another 2-1.
Okay.
Chelsea.
And then
Yeah.
our last matchup, Manchester United versus Liverpool. A lot of injuries for both of these teams.
This one's gonna be amazing. I mean, you're putting this kind of rival in the FA Cup quarterfinal. I can't wait
Yeah.
for this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this matchup. It's just like a lot of important players not on the field for both of these teams.
Yeah, and on top of that, just kind of going through Manchester United's like past couple games, it's been a decent amount of time since they've gotten the best of a really good team.
Yeah.
If you want to count, unless you want to count Aston Villa as a really good team.
Which I probably wouldn't. I would
Yeah,
say
they're teetering
if
there.
you want to call a team really good right now in the Premier League, it's probably just the top 3.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll give Manchester United their props for beating Villa. It's not an easy team to beat per se, but
No.
their defense has been abysmal compared to the rest of the teams up at the top.
Yeah, they are coming off of a clean sheet versus Everton, which was a nice bounce back from that 3-1 loss to Manchester City in the derby there, which they've just off topic, but have absolutely been dominated in the past couple
Yeah,
years, honestly, which is sad to see the rivalry getting one sided there, but they're gonna have a tough time against Liverpool. I mean, like I said, ever since City, they haven't played anybody since going all the way back here. It looks like December, and they actually played Liverpool. They had a red card and they tied 0-0. So
yeah,
um, Liverpool just looks so much better right now. I feel like the tie against City really says a lot about what they've been able to accomplish.
yeah.
Liverpool. And the fact that it's kind of looking like City are more equal to the other top teams as far instead of just killing them all.
True.
So and I think Liverpool's been a big reason for closing that gap. So I think Liverpool definitely has the edge in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the inactives are kind of the same guys they've been missing for the past couple of months. Trent still out, Thiago's still out. Gravenberch might be back in time. I'm not too sure, but like Joel Matip's down for the season. Diogo Jota is out for a little bit, so that's kind of an issue. But then like Curtis Jones is still out. He might be back for this one, and then Allison is out as well. So Liverpool's in an interesting position here, where they don't have a full strength team, but neither does Manchester United. You're most likely not going to see Rasmus Højlund, at least in the starting lineup. He might come off the bench. He's just not at full fitness right now. Mason Mount out, Luke Shaw out, Lissandro Martinez out. Harry Maguire might make it back. Martial out. Juan Bissaka might, but probably not.
Yeah, but yeah, honestly, the FA Cup quarterfinals is a lot of injuries, and about 60% of it's Newcastle.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's rough.
Yeah, for United Liverpool, I'm gonna take Liverpool. I'm actually gonna take them 2-0. I don't trust the goal scoring ability of Manchester United.
Yeah, and, who are they going to play up front if not Hoyland?
Yeah, Rashford.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's gonna be
Rashford.
the worst front three possible for Manchester United, which is Rashford in the middle with Antony and Garnacho on the left and the right.
Antony.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Unfortunately. All right, yeah. Well, that's the FA Cup. So I guess we have Wolves, and City moving on, and Chelsea and Liverpool moving on. So I believe that means that we would see Wolves versus Man City, and Chelsea versus Liverpool, which sets us up most likely for a Manchester City Liverpool final. Chelsea can beat them. Chelsea could beat
Yay.
Liverpool.
No,
I don't think they will.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
I don't think either of us are going to convince
I
ourselves
actually
that's
had
true.
Coventry. Yeah, I had
Oh,
Coventry
sorry.
over
Yeah, you had Coventry.
Wolves.
So it still sets up for Manchester City versus Liverpool final.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Holland, he would be licking his chops. He loves going to those smaller stadiums and just,
Yeah,
creaming other teams.
that's true. He would have so much fun. Nonetheless, yeah, I guess City's just going to win another treble, and I guess we just have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I hate it.
Yeah, it does kind
I
of
hate
suck. But they do have to win in the Champions League, which is what we're about to talk about.
Look at the segue.
Yeah, look at that. I'm so good at that I haven't even started saying anything else.
You are honestly pretty good at that.
Am I?
Your segues are creative.
All right,
I would say
fair enough.
so.
Well, let's talk about Arsenal because they weren't creative in this one. 1-0 over Porto, and it took them penalties to beat them. Now, I was right. I said that Arsenal would win this match. They would come back and win. So that's all I really care about. It does piss me off that this is the lineup that they won with because it's fucking horrendous. But
Yeah.
it worked. Despite the fact that Kai Havertz was the striker in this lineup. And yeah, they won.
Pep. Well, you see, you were right, but I was close to being right. I mean, it really was a close game. 41-year-old,
sure.
Pepe, captain, just had an amazing game.
Yeah, I do like that they have
honestly.
two Pepes.
Yeah, that's really good for cohesiveness.
Yeah, and
Talking about the same
recognizability.
Pepe. Yeah. Why the fuck would you do that, Porto?
Yeah. One's Brazilian, so I guess that is a big difference.
Yeah, that kind of gives you a little bit of
I do. Okay,
there.
I got some questions. Arsenal. If Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah are available, why are neither of them playing and instead you put Kai Havertz at striker?
Maybe it's Kai Havertz.
Maybe he wants
Chelsea,
to be a striker.
And now he's cursed Arsenal. Yeah.
I think that's what we've come to.
It's so bizarre.
It is.
The fact that he gets played at center forward, I think it's only done damage to his career.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Definitely.
Except for the one time he scored in the Champions League final, he was kind of like a center forward spot against City, but that's it.
Yeah.
Literally it.
Yeah, but Arsenal advanced on penalties. They win the penalties 4-2, and they move on to the quarterfinal. I'm not surprised. I called it, but it's an interesting result.
Arsenal has a good chance this year.
They do.
I honestly think they're up there.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can't get a treble, which kind of sucks.
No.
But they're doing some good things, for sure. Let's talk about this Barcelona match. I think I picked Barcelona. I don't know. It feels like so long ago. It
Yeah,
was last week.
it
I
kind
don't
of
know.
was.
But Barcelona won this match 3-1. They advanced 4-2 on aggregate. A pretty solid comeback by Barcelona. Or I
Yeah,
guess not a comeback. It was 1-1 in the first leg, and then they win it at home. But still, I think this was a commendable effort by Barcelona to just come out and score goals, which has been something that a little bit, they've struggled a little bit with this year. The formation, interesting. Never thought of Andreas Christensen as a CDM. It kind
yeah,
of worked, despite the fact that he was the worst player on the field.
yeah, by far, and a yellow card.
Yeah. And he got subbed off in the 60th.
Yeah,
And was replaced by an actual defensive midfielder in Oriol Romeu. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I don't know. It makes sense. Like, this is not a fantastic Napoli team, and when Victor Osimhen plays like he did, it makes a lot of sense. He literally took one shot. He played 90 minutes. How?
yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't know how you finish a game like that.
makes no sense to me.
Um,
But
but what's also kind of strange is Jules Koundé, the old Sevilla center back, is being played as a fullback in this game.
yeah,
And I also
he's
haven't.
been played at fullback quite a bit by Barcelona.
I knew he was a fast center back, but I didn't ever
Yeah,
think that he would be, moved to a fullback. But
yeah.
here we are. I have no idea who Pau
Kubarsi.
Kubarsi
So he's
is. I've
17.
never heard of him.
17 years old. Of
Wow.
course, a Barcelona Youth
Of
Academy
course, yeah.
product,
Amaesa.
as you could have guessed.
Yep. Yep. And
It's
then
just what they do, man.
cool thing about Ronald Araujo, this guy, Barcelona are willing to sell him if they receive an offer
Yes.
around 100
I've
million
heard
euros. I heard that
quite a
today.
bit about him possibly going to Bayern and that pushing away Mateus de Ligt.
Honestly, if Newcastle wants to open up that budget, I wouldn't mind.
Oh, I wouldn't
Would you
either.
mind?
No, not at all. As much as I love the occasional Fabian Schär 20-yard screamer,
Yeah.
he is certainly replaceable.
Yeah. I think this loss to Barcelona for Napoli has officially ended Victor Osimhen's career as a Napoli player. There's no way he's coming back.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that it goes the same for Kvaratskhelia. I think he should leave as well.
Really?
Yeah, I think he needs to take the next step, and right now at Napoli, you can't expect to take the next step.
Yeah.
Because that's what Osimhen has done.
Fair.
Osimhen has used Napoli to get eyes on him, and that's what last season was. Last season put eyes on the great players on this team. That's why Kim Min-jae is gone, and that's why
Yep.
Osimhen is being talked about for like record fees, and I think Kvaratskhelia deserves the same treatment. He's just so naturally skilled. He needs to go somewhere where it can be put on display and it can be useful to the team.
Yeah.
Even if he stays in Italy and just goes to like Juventus or whatever, he just needs to make a change.
Yeah. I like that. I could see La Liga for him too. Maybe
Definitely.
not Premier League, but La Liga as well. Yeah, I mean, I think I had Napoli coming back in this one just off of, Napoli in the Champions League and that whole aura that they have about them. But in all reality, I mean, this Napoli team after last season, kind of like with what you said, was just picked to pieces and not really replaced. They're just struggling.
Yeah.
They are struggling.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
So yeah, we'll move on though to the next match, which was a very interesting one. Atletico Madrid 2-1 over Inter. They go to penalties as that made it 2-2 on aggregate, and Atletico Madrid pulls it away 3-2 in the penalties. You had two straight makes to start off these penalties with Çalhanoğlu and then Memphis Depay, and then three straight misses. You had Alexis Sanchez miss, Saul miss, and then Clausen miss. So now you find Atletico Madrid up. It was 1-1 after 5 penalties. And then Riquelme makes his, Acerbi makes his, Correa makes his, and then the captain, Lautaro Martinez, misses his penalty, and they are knocked out of the Champions League.
Not just missed.
Bad.
It was it was a souvenir. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I saw in this game Marcus Thurman grab the balls of Stefan Savic. That was a cool moment. That happened in this one. Antoine Griezmann scored a 360 goal.
Yeah.
Trick shot.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
That was pretty sick.
And then I think my favorite moment from this game, though, is after Lautaro Martinez missed, Angel Correa for Atletico Madrid, who got subbed on later and ended up making his penalty. Obviously, they share the same country. They are both countrymen of Argentina. Angel Correa, before he even started celebrating after Martinez missed, he went straight to him and made sure that he was okay. So I thought that moment was really,
It's
really
two
cool
World Cup
between
winners
those
right
two.
there.
Yeah, and just to lighten the mood again, Mkhitaryan is still playing and is
That's
still
crazy.
effective and is like a center mid now.
Yeah, like
don't get it.
he used to be like a winger, and then he was a cam, and now he's just a center mid.
Mkhitaryan, man, some of those FIFAs, like using him on Dortmund, he was
awesome.
Incredible.
Just
Loved
using Dortmund in general on like FIFA 14 was awesome.
It was fun.
Marco Reus,
It was fun.
Mario Götze, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Lucas Piszczek. Love that team.
The Polak. Blaszczykowski, the other winger.
Yes.
Other Polish winger.
Dude, that Borussia Dortmund team was awesome. Okay, I want to talk about how bad this Inter defensive five was. Because we have many times spoken so highly of this back five.
Yeah,
with these same guys in it for the most part. And they were abysmal. Outside of DeMarco, who is just one of the best fullbacks in the world still.
Yeah, he plays that 5-back fullback so well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think for Inter, like, their defensive system works really well, but I don't think Bastoni and an aging Stefan de Vrij and honestly Benjamin Pavard, I don't really think they cut it. I think if I'm Inter, I'm also looking at Araujo from Barcelona as well.
Yeah, I think he's just too. I think he might be too high. Like, he's too big to go to Inter. As crazy as that sounds.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like
he
Inter
is.
Doesn't sign big players?
No, not anymore.
I mean, that's a good point.
I
don't
disagree. The biggest signing they've made recently is Marcus Thuram.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem like they have a ton of pull anymore.
Yeah, same with AC Milan.
I think all the Italian
teams. These teams just don't.
All of the teams in Italy have lost all of their pull.
Yeah.
They're going to lose players to the Premier League, the Bundesliga, and Spain so much more than any other league right now. Because it's a high level of competition, but there's not a ton of money in it. All of the wealthy ownership is in Germany and Spain and in England and France as well, I guess, if you count PSG. They're just able to pull any player they want out of Italy. Manchester United literally grabbed Rasmus Højlund out of the hands of Atalanta for like $70 million, and he's going to be their striker for a couple of years at least.
Yeah, he would probably be making a way bigger difference at Atalanta than Manchester United right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
But like, it just doesn't seem like the Italian leagues can keep up right now when it comes to the signings. And like, guys like Lautaro Martinez that want to stick around is fantastic. He also happens to be the reason they lost this game.
Damn.
So, you know,
I mean, you're right.
Do with what you'd like. But if we're talking 5-backs as well, Atletico Madrid, way better 5-back. Because they do it in a way more interesting way, where it's Axel Witsel playing more into the defensive part, or like the defensive line of this team, but he's willing to play up the field, which allows Savic and Hermoso to pull to the middle, and I think it's Samuel Diaz Lino. I don't know what he typically goes by, but he can float kind of in that left back position. He can get up the field if he wants, but he doesn't really need to because Koke is very good at playing out wide. Griezmann likes to play out wide as well as a striker. And then Nahuel Molina is a fantastic right back, and he just stays at right back in this position. So like Axel Witsel knows that he is a center back in this formation, which forces him to play back and allows DePaul to play further up the field because all three of these midfielders, outside of maybe Koke, want to play up the field. DePaul wants to play up the field. Llorente for sure wants to play up the field. And so that allows Witsel to play defensive mid, but know that he has to drop back into the back line. And it worked.
I love your formation breakdowns.
It worked so much better than Inter Milan. Because Inter is so attacking heavy that Dumfries and DeMarco find themselves way up the field, and you don't have a single defensive-minded midfielder. And so it's just Pavard, De Vrij, and Bastoni.
Yeah, and I think that was a problem for Inter Milan is they matched up with a team that also plays a similar way that they do.
Yeah.
They just kind of have a better mix than I think Inter Milan does. But when Inter Milan's cooking, like all of because you brought up they don't have any defensive center mids. Well, when their fullbacks are so attacking and their center mids aren't defensive, that means that when they have the ball, they're not really giving it up.
Yeah. Yeah, their possession is fantastic. Like, I would assume they probably, they won in possession in this game, 53%. They had 88% passing, but they got off 4 less shots on target, 3 less big chances created in this game.
Yeah.
And, like, it makes sense.
Yep. And then my last point that I want to make about this game is how does Alvaro Morata still have a job?
He's a money laundering scheme. I think we've gone over this before.
Yeah. He's just back home now. I guess it's over.
Yeah, who knows, dude.
Yeah.
I would say he's going to go to the Saudi leagues, but like surely Juventus is going to pick him up next year to like send some money to Atletico Madrid. So and then he'll probably be on Chelsea the year after.
Chelsea. I hope not.
He'll be back.
I don't want those days back.
It's inevitable. He'll be like 95, still getting transferred across those 3 teams. Makes no sense. Let's talk about Borussia Dortmund. Just getting PSV out of here. Just go ahead. Send them home. 2-0 in this game. PSV, they win it 3-1 on aggregate.
PSV missed an absolute sitter to tie this game before Royce ended up sealing the deal, making it 2-1, getting the brace there. It's cool to see Dortmund play well, and I think the Champions League honestly has kind of helped them maybe even turn their season around because they at this stage in the Champions League it's crazy because I would honestly say overall Newcastle had a better group stage than Borussia Dortmund did overall. Yeah. Dortmund still went through, playing shitty, but ever since the knockout rounds have started,
they turned it up.
Look kind of like a threat.
They turned it up for sure, and like I feel like from the jump, PSV just didn't have the firepower to keep up. Like I immediately said when they drew 1-1 that Dortmund was going to take this when it goes back to the Signal Iduna Park because it is just a different type of atmosphere to play in. But when you look at this team and you see like this team didn't even start Marco Reus in this game. He still came on. He scored the a decisive goal in the 90th +5 to just kind of pad the stats for them. But like Adeyemi didn't start in this lineup either. And he's a budding young star for that team.
Yeah, and I don't think they were planning on starting Marco Reus. I think if the game would have been a little bit further away, they probably wouldn't have even used him because he only got like 15 minutes.
Yeah, he came in the 75th minute, and he scored his goal in the 90th +5. But like to see Julian Brandt and Füllkrug start up in the front and Jadon Sancho and Malen on the wing makes me think that Borussia Dortmund is kind of like, this isn't just like it's a midweek match, let's give Marco Reus some time off. It's like he probably doesn't deserve to be starting at this point in his career.
You don't think so?
I hate to say that, but I think we're at that point.
I don't know. I think you really have to debate, would you rather have Julian Brandt or Marco Reus? And I mean, Julian Brandt is very, very talented, much younger, but I don't know if there's too much of a difference skill wise for me to consider not playing Royce, who could be your captain, who is more probably consistent. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But you think Julian Brandt's better?
I think when you look at like what they're still able to do, a 34-year-old Marco Royce just isn't. He's not going to perform better than Julian Brandt on a week by week basis.
Yeah.
And like you could put Royce out wide, and which is I think kind of what they did, but I think they just had him move more central, because he technically subbed in for Jaden Sancho in this game. But like
Oh,
I don't know. And also, I haven't watched a lot of Dortmund. I hate that Sewell plays right back in this team a lot. He is way too slow.
bro, a 6'5" right back
Yeah, he's
is kind of
way too
fucking
slow, way
crazy.
too big to be a right back. And then you match that up with putting Daniel Mullen in front of him, who's not like a super fast right wing.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like it's weird to me the tactics that they go for. And I don't. I'm not saying like Edin Terzic isn't doing a great job with Dortmund, because I think this is probably one of the weaker Dortmund squads we've seen in a long time. It seems like a lot of the super good young players have kind of departed, and they haven't really gotten like a next class of them. We kind of
Yeah,
had this class of like Pulisic and then Holland and Bellingham and like all these guys departing kind of in this same span of years, and like everybody kind of being hyped on them. And now it just kind of seems like that's over.
yeah. They actually also went into this game with Schlotterbeck hurt as well.
Yeah.
He didn't play,
Yeah. And
nor
he
was he a
typically
sub.
starts.
Um, where am I just like a numbskull who like lives under a rock? Where is Gio Reyna?
He is at Nottingham Forest. He's on loan. I think he got loaned out in January. I think we talked about it.
They may have done well to hang on to him. I think they probably could have hung on to Gio Reyna.
Maybe. I don't know. He's an odd one. I can't figure him out.
He is an odd one. But I love his play style. I
Yeah, me
think
too.
like going forward, because you and I are big like USA soccer fans as well. I think going forward, Gio Reyna is that kind of Gio Reyna is that kind of creativity, kind of like our Messi. I feel like is his
Ugh.
potential. I know that's a crazy
Ugh.
statement to make, but he is like your passer, your dribbler. He's that kind of
Yeah,
mold. Christian Pulisic doesn't do
I
that.
think the
McKinney doesn't
game
do that.
could flow through him for sure. The
That's what I
problem
meant.
is his attitude towards it,
Yeah,
because we already saw that him and Greg Berhalter aren't on the same page. And then they kept
no.
Greg Berhalter, and Gio Reyna is undoubtedly going to make the roster for the Copa America. So it's like I don't know. It's a weird case.
It is a weird case.
All right. Well, let's kind of just overview real quick. Talk about all the teams that have advanced to now into the Champions League quarterfinals draw. So we have, of course, the 4 teams that won over this past week. So you have Arsenal moving on. You have Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Dortmund joining Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, PSG, and Man City. You can't go wrong here, honestly.
No.
I really don't think you can, because and now it's an open draw, so it's not like they don't have to reserve same nation or same group or anything. That's all out the window. It's just straight up, you play this team, and so on. The draw
It's
is,
very good.
yeah, and it's on Friday. So yeah, they've got a little bit more information here. So, yeah, open draw. So no seating, no country protection, nothing like that. Yeah, so the 8 balls will be put in and shuffled. I'm sure rigged as well, as they do.
Some of them is weighted differently,
Yeah,
like paper. The
for
paper's
sure.
weighted different.
Has to be.
All I'm saying, my dream matchup is go ahead and let Real Madrid absolutely kick the fucking shit out of Manchester City and just boot them out of here.
So my dream
That's what I
matchup is
want to see
actually to
happen.
have as many domestic matchups as possible.
Why?
Because I love that. I love getting that. And I think
Yeah.
the big thing is that if you don't match up Real Madrid with another Spanish team, and if you don't match up Dortmund and Bayern Munich, you're not getting it later.
Yeah.
Because Dortmund is going to lose to somebody here.
Oh my god, Dortmund and Bayern Munich would actually like rumble the earth.
That would be awesome.
That would be ridiculous.
Quarterfinals of the Champions League, but Dortmund's not moving on. Yeah.
From 2013 final.
Yeah. But like Dortmund's not moving on here. And I have a feeling Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, I don't think either of them could beat Man City, Arsenal, or Real Madrid.
Arsenal as well.
Yeah. I think Arsenal's playing at a high enough level at the moment that I don't think either of those teams could beat them. And PSG is a weird case. Everybody could beat them or nobody could beat them. All I know is they're not winning at all.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. So I really don't know with that, but yeah, I don't. It's tough. I think my dream matchups here is to just go ahead and get the derbies out of the way. Go ahead and get Borussia Dortmund versus Bayern Munich, and go ahead and get one of the Spanish teams to play Real Madrid.
Or play PSG.
Either way.
You said one of the Spanish teams to play. Oh, yeah. I see
what I'm saying is like either Atletico Madrid or Barcelona, because both of them are rivalries with Real Madrid. And then just have the other one play PSG, and then Man City and Arsenal play. That would be awesome.
Barcelona versus Madrid would be sick.
Yeah, but also, honestly, Barcelona versus PSG would be kind of cool. Because it's like, this is the team that's took so many players from them.
Yeah.
Now, only one of them is there.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's been pretty damn good. Ousmane Dembele. He's been pretty good for PSG.
Absolutely solid, yeah. I don't know, but this is definitely. I feel like we always have like that one, not necessarily dark horse, but that team that goes to the quarterfinal that just shouldn't belong.
It's Dortmund,
but here it's
Dortmund,
but Dortmund is good.
Yes, so they belong more than if like a Porto moved on
Celtic,
or a PSV or Celtic. Like, yeah, like if one of those teams was here, because like it happens just about every year where like the quarterfinals has like one Portuguese team or like one, like a PSV or an Ajax that makes the quarterfinal, and we're all just like, how? And then we look back and we're like, okay, well, they came second in their group. They played a team that was really bad that won their group, or vice versa. And it's like, okay, sure. And then they get beat, and then it's over.
Here they are.
It was a waste of a spot because some other team that was, third place is now going to win win the Europa League because they didn't qualify because their group was stacked.
Yep.
So there's, I don't know. There's no telling.
You've got it all figured out.
I do. I know exactly what's going to happen here.
Oh, man. But yeah, this Champions League's great. I can't wait for it to come back.
I probably couldn't ask for much better. Honestly.
Same. Unless our teams were in it, but
yeah, that would be awesome.
Do they belong?
At least my team had a chance to get to it.
Yeah, my team wasn't even playing in Europe.
Your team's been there before, though. I have to give you that. My team won it before it was even called the Champions League.
You know what it is? Todd Bowley needs to save on airfare because he spent so much money.
Maybe.
That's why we're not trying.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We are a local English team only now.
Soon enough, Chelsea's going to be riding the train to their matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys wish you had Citigroup owning you. You could just be buying all the players from all of the teams they own.
Exactly.
Dude, have you seen all this stuff with Girona?
No.
Because Girona is owned by Citigroup.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, Girona, like, has some very good Brazilian kid, Savio, I think is his name.
Okay.
And in the summer, I'm pretty sure they said he's joining Manchester City for, like, nothing.
Damn.
So that's great. I can't talk shit, though, because, like, I would love nothing more than any of the Saudi Arabian teams to just send Newcastle a player. That'd be awesome.
Who would you take? Honestly, who would you take from Saudi Arabia to play for Newcastle? Would you just go ahead and get CR7 or like maybe Sadio
Nah,
Mane?
probably Sadio Mane is probably the best option because everybody else kind of aging out. Maybe Kareem Benzema,
Yeah, Conte.
Neymar. Neymar wouldn't be a bad shout. There's quite a few good ones.
Honestly, my team has Nicholas Jackson. Give me CR7, even if it's only for like 6 months.
Yeah.
I will take
Unfortunately, you only get to take from Strasbourg, which sucks.
it. What is a Strasbourg? Who is a player on Strasbourg?
I'm trying to think of any player I know that's ever played there. I think they had a keeper with the last name Kells, Kels, at some point. I feel like I remember that from FIFA.
Let's see. No, not Steven Strasburg. He's irrelevant.
I think it's spelled different. It's like Strasbourg. Strasbourg. Keeper. Kells.
I looked up famous Strasbourg player, and I know nobody on this list. I'm not even kidding.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, Kamara. He was there. He was their keeper for a little bit. I remember that name.
Where's their cat? What? Really?
What?
Oh, never mind. They have a different Mitrovic that's been their captain since 2015. It's not Alexander, it's Stefan.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Let's see. Who are the best players in their team's history?
I love this deep dive on Strasbourg we're doing right now. Grayson, I really know none of these players.
Yeah, I'm trying to find like a recent squad that I can look at and see if I recognize anybody. Going to league1.com, which I'm sure is the worst website ever.
Yeah.
Squad. Here we go. We're getting somewhere. Let's go back to 2020. Patrick Vieira was their coach in 2020. Yes, okay, it wasn't Kells, it was Sells. Mats Sells, Belgian keeper. I remember him.
Okay. How do you know him?
FIFA.
Gotcha.
He was I think he had like maybe a team of the season or something.
So no one too crazy.
No, definitely not. I think Habib
Oh,
Diallo
they have
sounds...
Kevin Gamiero's on their
Oh,
team.
really?
Remember the old forward?
Yeah, he used to play for like
36 years
Madrid
old.
and Sevilla, I believe.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know that. He's been around forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Questions time?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why don't we get into
We
questions
do
time?
need to
We're
do
just sitting here in
questions.
silence reading fucking Strasbourg players. So we might as well start up questions time. Nathan, of course, giving us another set of fantastic questions. Honestly, I haven't fully screened them just yet, but I saw a couple of them and I liked them. So let's start with the first one. Do you think a McDonald's All-American team could beat any WNBA team?
What is McDonald's All America like the best like youth
So
basketball
the
players?
McDonald's All-American is split into East and West, and it is the best players of high school basketball for a given season. I believe it's the best seniors,
Okay.
and it's split into East and West. So I'll pull up an example of one that is like familiar faces that we might know. So like I'll go back to like 2017. These are guys that have at least been in the league for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So the East in 20 wow, this team fucking blows. The East in 2017, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, Trayvon Duval, never heard of him. Quad Green, never heard of him either. Kevin Knox, Nick Richards, don't know him. Mitchell Robinson, Colin Sexton, Jared Vanderbilt, Lonnie Walker, PJ Washington, and Chris Wilkes. was the East,
I
and
knew
I knew a couple of those
a couple
names.
of those
Okay, the West
guys.
is a much
Yeah.
better one to go off of. DeAndre Ayton, Brian Bowen II, Troy Brown Jr., Jalen Hands, who was a crazy dunker. He made a video with Jesser when he was like
Ah,
at
Jesser.
UCLA, and it was awesome. Um,
More of a
Jaren
catch
Jackson
nasty guy.
Jr., Brandon McCoy, Chuck O'Bannon Jr., Michael Porter Jr., Billy Preston, Gary Trent Jr., MJ Walker, and Trey Young were on the West team. Uh, yeah, they're beating the WNBA team, I think.
I think so too.
I think it's just like
And
totally, it's almost a different sport. Like if you watch women's basketball and you watch men's basketball, even at the college level, it's so different.
yeah,
Like the
I,
approach
I
to the
think so
game is
too.
so different.
The men's, and of course, like this is I actually just had to write a news story about the integration of like sexes and transgenders
Yeah.
in sports, and basketball especially is a very like it it's a super physical sport as well. It's very
Yes.
fast, and WNBA games are a lot more slow paced than when the men's play. The
For
men's
sure.
are more, I feel like, aggressive and they attack harder, while the WNBA is a little bit more like
It's
it seems
methodical.
more thought
Yeah.
out what they're doing. Yeah, and like I'm just thinking of like Zion when he was in high school.
Yeah.
His highlights alone
Yeah,
would have
dude.
probably beaten a
Hold on.
WNBA
What was
team,
that? 2019?
bro. He should not have been doing that.
No. No. I think
Should
that
have banned
was.
him from playing
Wait, it
completely.
might have been before that then, because he would have been on the East. It was before that. Let's see, 2018 maybe. Yeah, 2018. Actually Zion. Oh yeah, Zion's on that. Okay, so the 2018 East roster had. I'm not going to name everybody, but R.J. Barrett, Darius Garland, Romeo Langford, E.J. Montgomery, Emmanuel Quickly, Nas Reed, Kobe White, and Zion Williamson. They are
Damn.
washing a WNBA team.
Yeah. I have some really big news that I just saw.
Please.
Before our next question, 23 minutes ago, TMZ just reported that the police are investigating Dak Prescott under sexual assault allegations,
Oh,
um, alleged in
not good.
2017.
Oh,
Yeah.
what was that, rookie year?
And
Second
also,
year?
yeah, his rookie year. 2 days ago, Sports Illustrated reported that apparently, this is the headline: Dak Prescott family rips Cowboys and praises Philadelphia Eagles move.
Okay.
Ridiculous. Dak Prescott
So
news
Dak
there.
Prescott's
So,
life is falling apart, sounds like.
yeah.
That's good.
Oh man,
Okay.
I
All
don't even
right.
know what to say about
Very
that.
interesting. All right. Let's go. What female athlete could play at an average or above average level in the men's equivalent of their sport?
Mm. I Serena Williams.
No.
Even though she has said that she would get
So I
waxed by
know,
men's players.
and she has been. See, that's the
I
thing.
know.
I know. Okay, so I know tennis a little bit. And her and Venus played a doubles match against two guys that were ranked like in the 300s in the world a while ago. They got fucking wiped. Like absolutely shit on. It's different
Damn,
because of strength. Because if you're looking at like average serve speeds, and you look at a guy like John Isner has like one of the fastest serves in tennis. UGA player. Or used to be, obviously. He has one of the fastest serves in tennis. And if you look at like the fastest women's serve, it's not even close to like some of the top high schoolers in the nation.
wow.
Like I knew kids that played tennis at my high school that served harder than Serena Williams.
Damn.
Then again, these two guys that I knew from my high school were both top 10 in the Southeast and went on to play Division 1 and are still playing Division 1 tennis. So,
Good for them. Damn. I thought, I don't know. I guess I thought Serena could still be like an average
yeah.
level, but the gap is too big there.
I think there's women's soccer players that could play well. I wouldn't say like
Yeah,
they're not going to be the best, but I think there are some women's soccer players that are genuinely just very good and
yeah,
understand the tactics of soccer that would hold their own in men's soccer. Maybe not like
yeah.
in the Premier League, but like could probably hold their own in a little bit lower league.
Maybe like Alex Morgan. I feel like is a
Yeah,
really
or like Rose
intelligent
Lavelle.
female
I think
soccer
she could
player.
hold her own in the MLS.
Yep. The MLS.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the NWSL seems to be the maybe the place to be for women's soccer. They've
Yeah,
certainly poached
for
quite a
sure.
few top players out of like the top flights in England and Spain. Um, so I think if we're talking NWSL players, there's definitely some that I think could hold their own in the MLS.
Yeah, and then the other side of it though is that that story of the what was it, FC Dallas, like their under
Yeah,
16 team, like
yeah.
waxed
The women's
the
U.S. national
national
team.
team,
Yeah.
and like an under 16 MLS team probably wouldn't even do well like in the championship, like in the Premier
No,
League or like a
hell
lower
no.
tier Bundesliga, La Liga um team. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
tough.
It is tough. I'm trying to. Do you think is men's basketball too physical for Caitlin Clark
Yes.
to be good in?
Yeah.
Even with her points
Yeah.
and everything that she's been able
It's
to
like I said
accomplish.
with basketball, it's just so different.
Yeah. But so is she.
Yeah, no, she is. But
She
like
different too.
I think when it comes down to like how men's basketball is played versus women's basketball, I think it's just totally different.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
guess.
I think there's certainly there's a ton of sports where a female athlete can compete with men. I think it's just when you're looking at the primary sports that we see played, I think the style is done much differently in each gender's version.
Which is an underrated factor because they love to
Yeah,
shove, down your mouth that it's all about the physicality and
yeah.
everything, but
No, I think it's just the
it's also about the
style.
tactics as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
like women's soccer and men's soccer is oftentimes tactically different.
Yeah.
So
We spent a while on this
we
question.
have. Okay, let's go to if you were
I
a
love
okay.
it.
He said if you were a football manager, would you wear a tracksuit or a real suit? I'm going to say soccer. We don't conform here. If you were a soccer manager, would you wear a tracksuit or a suit? I'm going to say neither. I'd like to go with like the
I
Pep
also say
Guardiola
neither.
look. Pep Guardiola wears the coolest fits on the fucking sideline.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I would
Yeah.
probably wear a sweater with like a collared shirt
Yeah.
out of the back. That way, I can quickly run if my player,
Yep.
scores like a last minute goal,
Yeah.
something like that.
Like the suit is
Yeah.
underrated. The suit is kind of sick. Like Jose Mourinho
Suit
rolls
is
up in
sick.
his suit. It's pretty
Yeah.
fucking cool. But like Pep Guardiola on the sidelines, like one week he'll be wearing like a fucking t-shirt, a very cool t-shirt, but a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then like the next week he's pulling up like slacks, black long sleeve turtleneck. He just looks cool as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, that's that's a pretty good point.
But like the
Antonio
tracksuit never
Conte-
looks good, bruh. The tracksuit
No,
never
I hate
looks
the
good.
tracksuit. No, Antonio Conte though, I think has the least drip. Like some of the Chelsea things
He's
that
always
he
in a
would
suit.
wear were just well. Sometimes with Chelsea, he was in different shit, and it
Okay.
was like, bro, come on, man.
I feel like I always see him in a suit or in the warm-up jacket, like the long warm-up jacket.
Yeah, I think Tuchel is the only manager I've ever seen rock a tracksuit. He actually looks fit in the tracksuit. I like
Yeah.
him.
Wait, hold on.
But
See, when we're talking about soccer and you say that a man looks fit, that does sound kind of weird.
the fit looked good on him. If he fit
Yes,
nice.
it works for him. I agree. I just pulled
Yeah.
up a picture. Yeah, Tuchel does look. It looks right.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I think does Klopp wear the tracksuit?
Sometimes I
Can't
think,
remember.
right?
Yeah, he typically rocks like a tracksuit or a jacket, a sweatshirt. I think he pulls those off. I'd say.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think I would go for like the stylish, like modern fashion kind of look, like Pep.
Yeah, I think Zidane also kind of did a
He
little
did
bit of
suits
some
as well.
Pep-esque things.
He did some
Well, suits, but
suits.
I've also seen some T-shirts and some other stuff from
Yeah,
Zidane as well.
yeah, yeah. Maybe that's why he's not on the sideline anymore.
That is true.
Could be. What's your favorite month and why? Very big switch
Wow,
up here.
my favorite month and why. I would say it's a tie between three.
Okay,
I
so
have a three-way tie.
a quarter of the months.
Yes.
Okay.
No. What is it? Yeah. No.
Yes.
It would be a quarter of the months. That's why I'm a journalism major. I can't do math.
I'm a sport
I would
management
go
major,
no,
so
but you're just ridiculous. So November, December, and I'm gonna go June.
not your birth month. None of them your birth month.
No, I'm always like pollinated on my birthday. I'm always like
That's
can't
fair.
fucking do
I
anything.
think February is a
But
good month, so like it would have to be up there for me, and my birthday is part of
not
it.
if well, okay. I just think that your January and February's at least like weather in Georgia is some of the
I think February is
it's,
great.
it's brutal. Really?
Yeah, February is when you start seeing like you got like high of 55, low of 40. I
And
love that.
too cold for me.
Love it.
Too cold.
I'm a big October guy. October weather is fantastic. That's
October's
prime baseball
lovely.
weather. October, highs is 75, lows is 60. That's where you
Yeah,
want to be.
that's true. And then obviously November, December, the holidays are rolling up.
Yeah, December is
Everybody's all
great.
getting together. Um,
And also
and then
December is
June.
great because when it ends, it's a new year.
See, but that's like to me, January, February in Georgia, it's just gray and rainy and
But like I
cold,
don't really care
and
as much
that's
about the weather as I do like what's going on. February is awesome because the Super Bowl
Super
happens.
Bowl. That is true.
I base my life off of sports. I think we should know this by now. And
Yeah,
there's nothing worse than like August. Or not August, sorry, July. July kind of sucks because like the beginning of the month you get like All-Star weekend for baseball and like you get the trade deadline, but that's kind of it. And like no football.
in
It's
July
tough.
though, you can get you a little pack of ice from your convenience store, get you a cooler,
True.
some beer,
This would be
get
my
on the
first time being
lake.
able to do that. So,
Exactly, some fireworks.
yes.
Like July can be fun, but
Yeah.
you're right. There literally is no sport except for like I feel like I've watched like a lot of July NASCAR with my dad. That may be like when the All Star
Maybe.
race is, but a lot of people don't. NASCAR is a Southeast
Yeah.
thing, so I
Dude, I
get
was
that.
watching
But
okay, Netflix has gone like full out on these sports documentaries for seasons. It's like a season of sports like they
the
did,
Red Sox
F.
have one,
Oh, really?
right?
Didn't know that.
I think this season the Red
Oh,
Sox are
okay.
going to have one.
So like it kind of started with F1 Drive to Survive and
Yep.
then we had like quarterback and full swing and like all these.
Mm.
So I watched season 2 of Full Swing is awesome. I've become a big golf guy in the last couple of years. So season 2 of Full Swing is awesome. Actually, the Players Championship's going on this weekend. Yeah, that was great. You start off with like a lot of the conversation about like the Live merger and all of that. And then like you get like some cool deep dives into like Matt Fitzpatrick and his younger brother Alex. You get Joel Damon and Wyndham Clark. You get like some interesting perspectives on some things. A lot about like Ricky Fowler. And then you get a whole like Ryder Cup experience, which is super cool. But I just started watching the NASCAR one that came out about last year in NASCAR because I haven't paid attention to NASCAR in forever.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Really.
Yeah, like the whole first episode, the main storyline is about Denny Hamlin owning a team, but also racing for a different team. And like
Yeah.
the like, I'm trying to think of the word, the situations that has put him in where going into the final race of the season at Daytona to qualify for the playoff, Bubba Wallace races for his team and Ty Gibbs is part of his team. And both of them needed to come in like the top 2 or something to qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he said on his
Crazy.
podcast before that he would rather Bubba Wallace qualify than his teammate Ty Gibbs.
Damn.
That's crazy. So like I'm so bought in. I'm so bought like back into NASCAR.
Yeah, it's all fucked in Hamlin, but he went in with Jordan, right? And Michael Jordan did Hamlin.
So it's 2311 Racing.
Yeah.
And Bubba Wallace drives the 23 car, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is nice.
And I can't remember the other racer on the team, but he drives the 45, which is the other number that Michael Jordan wore.
Is it Reddick?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't paid too much attention.
That's fair.
Nonetheless, let's move on. Who had a better run as the face of the league in the 2010s, LeBron or Mike Trout?
LeBron.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be LeBron. If we're talking stats-wise, Mike Trout was a dog.
Yeah.
Every year. But then again, LeBron is literally one of, if not the best player of all time. Yeah. And like outside of the game is the guy. Mike Trout.
Built a school.
Yeah, Mike Trout never was publicly like out there.
Yeah.
Like he's been on social media and he does his thing, but like we're not getting Instagram stories of him singing all the wrong words to a song every day going to practice.
Yeah. Yep.
You just don't get that from Mike Trout. LeBron is the face of the NBA and was the face of the NBA for the 2010s, despite the fact like Kobe was still dominant in like the early 2010s and such. But like LeBron was the guy to be the face of the league at that point. Mike Trout was the face of the league, but it wasn't like, and also he
an extra step.
Yeah, and like it was like Mike Trout wasn't in the league the whole time in the 2010s, so like it's also kind of tough with that, where it's like he's kind of bridged between two, like time frame. Well, okay, never mind. I guess he started in 2011. I thought he started in 2013, but yeah, like the guy. We've talked about this run before, but an All-Star every year from 2012 to 2019, and he won 3 MVPs and was second in MVP 4 times and was 1 time fourth in MVP. Was never lower than 4th from 2012 to 2019. Crazy.
Damn, that's a pretty okay.
Absolutely insane.
Right,
he won a Silver Slugger every single year but one of them in that run.
What? That's crazy.
So like if you're looking at what they did like in the sport, both of them were dominant, but I think LeBron as a face of the league is easily like way, leaps and bounds out of Mike Trout for the 2010s.
I don't think you can really argue anybody else against LeBron. Even if you talk
could
about
you say
Brady,
like
I think it's LeBron,
Messi or Ronaldo for soccer?
Actually, I didn't think about those
because
two.
I think they're kind of the joint face of soccer, especially the 2010s.
Yeah, that's a really interesting.
But
debate.
It's hard
Is
because
Messi
neither
and
of them is
Ronaldo-
particularly the one.
But LeBron is.
Yeah, LeBron is because his like the guy he's pitted up against stopped playing in 2003. Messi and Ronaldo get pitted up against each other at all times, and they've played like the same amount of time.
Yeah, maybe the Messi-Ronaldo rivalry is a bigger face of a sport than LeBron.
Yeah.
What do you think? That's a tough.
It is tough, but like as an American watching, paying attention to American media, obviously throughout the 2010s, I didn't hear much about Messi and Ronaldo. It's only been like the last 5 years that American media even cared about soccer.
Yeah.
So I didn't see anybody but LeBron James. LeBron James was the guy you saw at every turn. Every single time you watched SportsCenter, they had to talk about LeBron. Whether he was playing, whether he had been hurt for 2 months, they were talking about LeBron. Yeah. They weren't talking about Mike Trout like that because ESPN hates baseball. I'm a big believer in that, but they definitely weren't talking about soccer. And with football, I think it fluctuates so much. Like right now, it's Patrick Mahomes, but you could argue other guys. It was Tom Brady, but you could argue Aaron Rodgers. You could argue so many other guys at times.
Justin Jefferson.
You couldn't argue against LeBron James.
Not in that time frame. No. No,
All right.
you just reminded me of something I totally forgot about. I know we've been on question time for a while, but I will never forget, Grayson. I was in my dad's room and mom was on vacation, and dad and I were watching Sports Center. This is a long time ago, and I remember when LeBron got traded to the Heat
We
or
signed their
signed
free
with the
agency.
Heat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
signed with.
decision.
So it was signed with decision. I remember like looking at my dad and I was like, why would he want to leave his hometown?
Yeah.
That's just crazy to think about all the way back then.
Yeah.
So now
I
it's
thought it was
like,
cool. I was like, I look back on it and remember, like, oh, yeah, like, I was born the year that LeBron got drafted. So, like, he moved to Miami when I was pretty young. So, like, I don't remember much about the first stint in Cleveland, but I definitely remember watching some finals in Miami that were pretty legendary.
and he's still playing, and he was drafted the year you were born.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
At a high level.
Yeah.
Might
I do wish that I was at least alive at some point while Michael Jordan was actually playing basketball. Well, I guess he
Me
played for
too.
a couple months while I was alive.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
that would have been cool. But let's go to the next one. Who would win between us in a mini hoop dunk contest?
No, what the fuck? I'm getting destroyed.
I don't know. I'm
I
not
know
that
it's a mini
agile.
hoop. Dude.
I think it would. Okay, I'll tell you this. Both of us are losing
back
because
it
if
up.
that is on video, it is the most unappealing thing you could ever see.
Yeah, there might be 0 points.
Yeah,
scored.
two relatively unathletic. I'm going to speak for you as well. In the grand scheme of things, two unathletic guys trying to dunk on a mini hoop is embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that would be interesting. Before we get out, I would just want to bring this up. So I was bored yesterday, and I went out to get an oil change. Stop by Goodwill. I do this every so often. I go in Goodwill. I try and find some things that are wearable. It's just kind of fun to just fuck around and look at the silly ass t-shirts. And then
Rift.
I saw that there was a card shop when I was coming back through a different part of town, and I decided that I'm just going to start buying cards, but not like packs, because I've been buying packs. I'm going to start buying singles, but I'm going to buy the cheap ones that like nobody would ever want.
Oh, okay.
So each of these cards that I bought were $5
Okay.
a piece. This one is a Jim Mint 10 rookie Pudge Rodriguez. I don't know if that's in focus quite yet, but
Yeah, I mean, you can tell.
yeah. So that one's not as funny as the other two.
Uh-oh.
So this one's pretty solid. This is a Oklahoma Josh Heupel on-card signature, who is now the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, that was $5.
Nice.
Okay, but this is the grail. This is the one
Okay.
that I got. Jim Mint 10 Tim Tebow baseball rookie card.
That's all you need right there. That's the only baseball
That is
card you'll
like
ever
that's so awesome. I don't know if that's in focus yet. I'm trying to get it in focus. There we go.
There it is.
Yeah. Jim Mint
I
10
love that.
Leaf
That's sick.
Baseball 2016 Tim Tebow rookie card. So yeah, I guess
Nice.
that's going to be my identity now. Is I'm the guy that buys the cards nobody else wants,
Nice.
and
You
I'm
should
gonna
get, like,
enjoy the fuck out of it.
Trying to think of what's another obscure like player move or like I don't know. What are like some weird baseball cards that like everybody knows about? Like famously weird baseball cards.
I don't know. There's definitely some that are weird. I can't think of any in particular. I know there's like a super famous basketball card that has the those twin brothers that killed their parents.
What?
They're in the background sitting courtside at a Knicks game. I'm
my
totally
God.
blanking on this. Twin brothers that killed their parents. The Menendez brothers.
Oh, really?
Yes. You've never heard of this?
No, not on a card.
Yeah, so it is on the back of a Mark Jackson card from the New York Knicks in 1990 that has the Menendez twins in the background on the left side of the card.
You could go on Etsy right now and get this card for like about
25 bucks.
$24.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now. Oh, there's one
I think you might need to add that
is
one.
graded a mint and 8. I get it for 65 bucks.
Not bad.
That would be an awesome card to get. I might
That would.
I might look into that. I get paid tomorrow. I might report back with this card in my
Yup.
possession.
I hope you do. That'd be hilarious.
I'll find some other ones that I'm interested in. I might pick those up just to throw them in the background or something. But for now, that's going to do it for us, guys. I hope everybody liked the new format on YouTube. Switch to things a little bit, just make it a little more simple for your viewing, make us a little bit bigger on the screen. And yeah, I just want to remind everybody to follow us on all the social media accounts. They're all right here on the bottom line, right there. It's kind of like ESPN now. We got like the little, I don't know, score bug? I don't know what they call it. The bottom line, maybe? I can't remember what
The bottom
ESPN used
line.
to call that. Nonetheless,
Ticker?
yes, the ticker. That's what it's called. Jesus.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm not doing much TV production. Make sure you guys are subscribing, liking, commenting on YouTube. The feedback on the mock draft was amazing. So I really appreciate everybody that watched that. That went super well. I couldn't imagine it did that well. And if you're on the podcast platforms, make sure you're following, rating 5 stars. Go ahead, pull your car over, turn the car off, get out of the car. Fuck it. Stand on the side of the interstate and follow this podcast and rate it 5 stars. And then get back in the car, safely merge back onto the interstate and continue your drive. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. Luke, anything for the people?
Yes, I actually wanted to talk about one lighthearted news story real
Please.
fast. The Dodgers re-signing Andrew Tolles was amazing to continue his health insurance to treat mental health.
Yeah.
They've been re-signing him since 2018. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, and the Dodgers have still been re-signing him even though he's not playing. So
That's awesome.
something cool for you guys to get out with. So yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Awesome. Well, guys, everybody enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on our regular schedule on Monday. Me and Colin, and you got a lot to listen to on that one. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.